This is the face of someone who's about to talk to you about bear shifters.
Is it really how everybody mistakes your weirdness for coolness?
Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Natalie Megan and this is Weirdo Book Club. Today we are definitely going to be getting weird. We are going to be discussing Bears in Mind by Sam Hall. This is a book that you voted for me to read, okay? You wanted the bears, now you got the bears. Fresh off the heels of the wolf shifter, well, it wasn't even a wolf shifter, he was just a wolf. We are now entering the world of bear shifters, and honestly, I feel a little bit better about this than I do wolves, and I'll tell you why. It's because I know very little about bears, right? I know so much more about like canines, dogs, I know what they smell like when they're soaking wet. I know what their breath smells like. If you haven't seen me reviewing The Hunter by Jenica Snow, which is a wolf thing, go check it out if you want to watch me be visibly uncomfortable at the subject matter at hand. I feel a little bit better about bears because I don't know much about bears. Like, I know that they exist. I've seen them in zoos. I don't know what a bear smells like. I don't know what their tongues are like. I don't know any of their anatomy really. And I love that. Keep it that way. I don't want to be involved. So I feel like there's enough distance between me and bears for this not to completely ruin me, but I guess we'll see, won't we? Let's go ahead and do the disclaimers. The first one is always the same. This review will contain spoilers, opinions, general shit talking about the book that we will be discussing today. If that doesn't sound fun to you, don't stay and watch. Why would you do that? Number 2, this is not for the author or friends, family, diehard stans of the author that don't want to hear someone on the internet that you don't know have a different opinion than you. If you don't know how to behave, scoot. So Bears in Mind by Sam Hall is book 1 in the Ursa Shifters series. Let's see what else is in the Ursa Shifter series. So there are 6 primary works plus a novella. We've got book 1, which we're discussing today, which is Bears in Mind. Book 2 is Bears With Me. Book 3 is Grin and Bear It. Book 3.5 is Poke the Bear. Book 4 is More Than I Can Bear. These are honestly great titles. I have no notes for you. Book 5 is Cross to Bear. Book 5 is Choose the Bears. And that's hilarious. This book is a 290-page shapeshifter romance, paranormal romance that was originally published January 2023, and it involves not 1, not 2, but 4 bears and a gal named Natalie. Yeah. How do I feel about that? I don't know. You tell me. Let's read the synopsis. My ex-husband broke my heart asking for an open marriage. Then I found out he'd already been sleeping with someone else. So I dumped his arse and moved out. But in the process, found myself in the arms of 4 smoking hot strangers. They pulled out all the stops, lavishing me with all the attention I'd been missing out on. But these guys have a secret. Am I going to be able to cope with the truth when it comes out? Or is it going to be too much to bear? I don't know. Great news for all the Kindle Unlimited people out there. If you have it, this one's on it. So if you want to read along, if you want to read it and then come back and we can talk about it after you're done, feel free, or you can just let me do it for you. I was going to say, let's just jump right in. But before we do, I wanted to tell you the names of the bears because we got a lot of people on the field here. Okay, well, bears. We got a lot of bears in the field. So we have 4 bears. Alaric, Coda, Thorn, and Lars. Right away, I'm going to tell you, I don't really appreciate that there's an Alaric and a Lars because I feel like Lars would be a nice nickname for Alaric. And so it's kind of confusing, but those are the 4 bears. Alaric, Coda, Thorn, Lars, okay? And Alaric, right, is kind of like the guy. He's the main bear on the block. He keeps everybody, like he's the leader of the crew. He does a lot of the organizing, the facilitating. And what I mean by crew is they are construction bears. Men. They're construction workers and they work together and he's kind of the leader of their crew, so to speak. And Alaric, I believe, is a brown bear or a grizzly bear. I don't know. He's a brown bear of some sort. The next 2, Coda and Thorn, are black bears and they are twins, okay? Coda is like a really stoic, like intense kind of, but like very empathetic. He can like kind of feel things in a way that the others don't. And so he's got like the calm of the storm at play here. Thorn is the aforementioned Storm because he is just like a balls to the wall, bold, mischievous, I'm good for a laugh kind of bear. And then we have Lars. He is the site manager. They all have like honey brown eyes, except for Lars, who has like crystal blue. He's also blonde, and that makes him a polar bear. Yeah. So we've got a lot of different kinds of bears. And then we also, at the beginning of the book, have a note from the author, which I will read excerpts from to you now. You know, it's really nice that this book is available on Kindle Unlimited now because I definitely bought it with my own money. So that's fun. Author's note. The book was written in Australian English, which is a weird love child of British and American English. We tend to spell things the way the Brits do, except a lot more use, yet also use American slang and swear more than both combined. While many people have gone over this book trying to find all the typos and other mistakes, they just keep popping up like bloody rabbits. If you spot one, don't report it to Amazon. Drop me an email below at the address and I can fix it. All right, and then we have the trigger warnings page. This book deals primarily with the breakdown of a marriage, FMC, and the antagonist of the book, and her subsequent much happier relationships with a harem of bear shifters. As a result, you will read about a marriage that was limping along for some time, the husband/antagonist engaging in emotional abuse and cheating, though the FMC does not see this, just finds evidence of it afterwards. The husband pretending to want an open marriage or a poly relationship and proceeding to completely misunderstand the realities of this relationship dynamic. This book is not supposed to be anti-poly or open marriage. The husband's attempt to maintain control over the FMC and his behavior escalating into physical and financial abuse. Please note, the FMC does not engage in anything romantic or sexual with any of the bear shifters until after the husband has said he wants an open relationship, and the vast majority of it happens after she's separated from her husband. If this is cheating in your book and you don't like it, you might want to avoid this book. Okay, well, good to know. I'm good with all of this, so let's just go, shall we? Let's shove off. I don't know what to say. So chapter 1 starts out in Natalie's POV. And we follow our girl into one of her like local bars that she and her husband used to spend a lot of time in. But she goes in this time alone and she's very anxious about it because, well, it's been years since she's done this. And this comes a week after her husband, Paul, decided to drop a bomb on her. Like it was right during dinner, a mouthful of Mongolian beef. He says, we need to talk, and then tells her he wants an open marriage because he's not attracted to her anymore.
Now, not only have you ruined my marriage, you've ruined my marriage.
Not only have you ruined my marriage, now you've ruined my Mongolian beef. After that pronouncement, he looked at me expectantly as if he'd just proposed we review who our home insurance was with. I hadn't replied. I hadn't been able to. My husband couldn't have hurt me worse if he'd pulled out a gun and shot me point blank. And in some ways, that's what it had felt like. Foreshadowing. Also, little trigger warning here that there is pew-pews. There's a pew-pew that shows up and some violence that comes along as a result. So I'm going to be as mindful and careful about it. I'm not going to be gratuitous, but I just wanted to let you know. So she's rolling through this in flashback form and you know, taking us along with it. She's just like lore dumping on how she got here on a regular night by herself as a married woman, but, you know, in a bar alone. She's a big, brave girl and she walks in and she greets the bartender, Garrett, who obviously knows her pretty well. And he's like, it's been a while since you've been in here. Yeah. And he's like, where's Paul? And she thinks to herself, out with another woman, I guess, with my permission. But she just tells Garrett he's out somewhere else. And I will say that I don't necessarily think that the book portrays poly or open marriages in a bad way. I think that it portrays Paul as an asshole who doesn't understand, because obviously with all the bears, when the bears show up, there's more than one of them. They're doing a poly open relationship, right? So there's definitely like an understanding of what it is, and it's not necessarily trying to have a negative connotation. So I do appreciate that. It's just Paul's kind of a douchebag. He says he's not attracted to her anymore and he wants to go fuck around. And unbeknownst to her at this current time, he's already been doing that, which is not a polyamorous relationship. It's not ethical non-monogamy. It's just cheating. And then coming back and doing like housekeeping, trying to fix your mess after you've already caused hurt. Whatever. Okay, so that's what's going on. Garrett asks her what he can get her, and she's like, a glass of Sauvignon Blanc. I don't know if I said that right. And a tequila shot, because our girl's feeling spicy tonight, okay? And to be honest, girl, if I was there, I'd buy you a shot. Sounds like you've been having quite a time lately. So she gets her drinks, and she's trying to figure out which one she's going to take first. I think she decides on the tequila shooter, and she has like a lime wedge and the salt and, you know, the whole deal. And then a nice smooth as honey.
Honey Daniels, duh.
voice comes up behind her and says like, that looks good. And she looks up to find that there's this stranger watching her. He looked like he should have been in armor, toting a broadsword and ready to storm Mount Doom or something. Instead, he just wore jeans and an old but clean flannel shirt. The skin around his eyes crinkled as he smiled, and there was something warm about him. Maybe it was just his light brown hair, the length in that nowhere place between long and short, or the neatly trimmed beard. Or maybe it was just because the guy had biceps as big as my head and a chest 3 times as broad. Okay. All right. I'll allow it. What a large hunk of man this is. So he sits down and orders himself a tequila shooter. Bottoms up, bitch. Take that shot with him. Oh my God, live Moss. So he asks her if she's ready to take the shot, but she has like a false start. She stutter stops a lot. There's a lot of lore dumping in the middle, like a lot of exposition, a lot of internal monologuing, and it becomes very grating over the course of this book, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Yes, I was a wife. Yes, I had a husband, but I'd left my wedding ring at home and I'd come out tonight, having taken it off for the first time in years. As the salt started to flake off my hand, I looked at the thin pale line on my ring finger, then back at the stranger before nodding. Lick, sip, suck. Oh, it's all coming back to her. So he introduces himself. His name is Alaric, but he goes by Rick, and they shake hands, and there's like a zap, like a warmth, like a something when they touch. Oh my God, what is it? She, again, is lost in like the ruminate. She's a very big ruminator, this girl, this Natalie, and I can relate as a fellow Natalie who tends to ruminate. She's just ruminating on the events that led her here. We're talking about Paul wanted an open marriage. This booba-dooba-dooba-doo. Like, I know, we already did this. We don't have to keep talking about it. I know that you're going through something. And again, if I was there, I would buy you a shot myself. But you don't need to keep telling me this. And, then she tells him her name is Natalie or Nat, and he offers to buy her a shot of the good stuff, like what it's supposed to taste like. So he's bougie, okay? She's wrestling with her decision and making herself feel guilty about it. I should have been home nestled up with my husband on the couch, watching some stupid movie and cackling at the bad acting and plot holes like we normally did, but Paul didn't want that. I find this to be very odd because when she starts talking about her marriage in depth as the book goes on, it doesn't seem like they ever did this. It seems like the minute that Paul got her to agree to marry him, he no longer viewed her as a partner or an equal or wanted to spend any time with her at all. So what do you mean like we normally did? That doesn't make any sense, but I digress. So she's thinking all of that, but then she pulls herself together and tells Rick, sure, show me what I've been missing out on. Big boy. She didn't say the big boy. I added that. Chapter 2. Can I just say that at this point, at this stage, I was already kind of enjoying this a little bit more than I have been. The shit that I've been trucking through lately for you guys, I was having a pretty good time at this juncture. Will that remain true? I don't know. I guess you'll have to keep watching and find out. Also, if you're here and you're listening to me right now, it would mean so much to me if you just hit that little like button and let me know that you're here and having a good time. All right, let's go. So he's talking to her about the tequila and how it doesn't actually need the lime and the salt and stuff because it's really good tequila, but just for the sake of comparison, they're going to do it anyway. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is an important skill to have if you're an author, is like learning that your words can really set a tone. So while we're sitting here, because in most of my books, when they start mansplaining things, I don't like it, but I don't mind this here because for some reason, this man is not painted as this overly masculine know-it-all who's just swept in to change her life with all this nonsense knowledge that no one asked for. He's just kind of there explaining it in a regular way, which is my favorite kind of guy. They're just there. So she takes the shot and she very clearly notices the difference in quality and taste and blah, blah, blah. I don't know anything about tequila, so I'm not even going to pretend. I'm not going to hold you. I'd barely eaten or drunk anything since Paul had dropped the news on me. I wasn't going to drink my way through what was happening to my marriage, but surely I could be forgiven for letting my hair down for one night. Girl, come over. We can go out. You absolutely deserve a night of fun, girl. Do it. So they chat a little bit more and she's like, what brings you to Langston? It's such a small town. So what are you doing here? And she's not trying to interrogate him, but she hasn't done this in a while. She's rusty. Me and my team have come down here to do some restoration work. At the town hall? Yeah, we're restoring the clock tower. He didn't seem to mind her interrupting him, which is good. And that just makes me like him even more. All the pieces come together because she's actually the one who works at wherever and has commissioned their team to be in town to work on the clock tower restoration project. What are the odds? You're Alaric Burns. I'm so sorry. You must think me a madwoman. I'm Natalie Bailey. Natalie Bailey. He said my name with a sort of reverence, which seemed a little strange but made my stomach feel all fluttery. Alaric and I had been emailing extensively over the last few months, and I'd managed the last few details of a grant we'd been given by the state government in order to restore the old town hall. So apparently Alaric and his team of bears, or his family or whatever, are very well known in this kind of realm. Work in the historic building restoration area of Worlds. And they're from the U.S. Apparently their family's from there or whatever, but they relocated here for some high profile projects and just never left, I guess. She's swimming through a tequila haze, but she does realize, she's like, oh, you guys don't have anywhere to stay tonight. I booked your hotel to start tomorrow. And he's like, are you offering us a place to stay? Girl, do it. Do it. Bring these men home in front of Paul. Do it. I'm not trying to be petty, okay? But I am. Just imagine his dumb face. She thinks about it for a minute and she worries about what Paul would say, but how can Paul even argue with her? This is what Paul wanted, is it not? He had, after all, explained the rules of their ethical non-monogamy. So, she could, if she wanted to get a little messy, she wanted to be a little petty. She could totally do this, and I would co-sign it. Do it. And she has a couple of spare rooms. She asks how many people are on the crew that he brought with him, and he's like, all 4 of my men. The main crew came out because this is a special job. I bet it is. She talks a little bit more about how she's an architecture nerd, and she even has her degree.
Since you got your degree and you know every fucking thing.
He orders them another round of tequila and maybe they should sip it this time, and she agrees. And then he says, then let's have a toast to a beautiful working relationship. And she thinks there's no way he could know how important this project is to her. And it has ties back to her childhood when her dad worked in this office or at the clock tower or whatever. And she thought it was a castle and he would bring her over there to see it during his lunch hour or something. I don't know. It's very special. Okay. And so she's been rallying for this historic restoration project for years now, and it's finally coming around. So this is a big deal for her. Alaric's presence here with me, it reminded me that there was a whole lot more to the world than just my damn husband. So I grinned broadly and clinked my glass with his to a beautiful restoration. Clink. Chapter 3. So they moved from the bar to a table or a booth, and they're having a good time. It's covered in shot glasses, so they are proper slosh. Well, she is. He's a bear, so I don't know what his tolerance is. I assume high. She's chattering about Edwardian style over the modernized style and the historic buildings meaning more to her. She's, nerding out really. And then she says, I stopped and smiled because my face had started to feel different, like it was made of silly putty, as though the skin and muscles had grown extra stretchy or something. I giggled at that and then stopped myself abruptly before gazing into Alaric's eyes. They were such a strange shade, almost like honey. Fresh from the hive? Who the hell has honey-colored eyes? Oh my God, girl, I don't know. It beats me. She's like, I shouldn't be boring you with this. And he's like, it's okay. You love old buildings. And she's like, I do love old buildings. They're having a moment. Okay. And I don't get it. I mean, I like an old building. It's just not one of those hyperfixation things for me. I like them. They're cool looking, but she's on another level. And she's drunk, so she's just being a little silly goofy. And she's talking about the project again. And he's like, no, it's going to be beautiful when we're done. I brought the best team here to help you with this. And she's like, help me? You mean Langston City Council, right? And he doesn't say anything. He doesn't correct her. And she just starts to kind of let her mind run away with itself, which tends to happen when you're neck deep in tequila shooters. She's like, sitting here and drinking all of this with someone I'm supposed to be working with is a bad idea. I don't know. I don't know what you mean. It seems like a great idea to me. And almost as if he senses this about her thoughts, he can read them. He can't, but almost like he can. He's like, you know what? I think this is enough. We should get you home. She rambles a little bit more. And I wrote in my notes that I was willing to let that go right now, but we need to tighten this up. We need, she's drunk. So I understand the word vomiting and you just circling around your thoughts. Fine. But I said, I'm willing to let that go right now because she's drunk. So maybe it makes sense for the situation, but I hope it tightens up as she sobers up and the book continues. I'm here in the future to let you know it doesn't tighten up. It does not tighten up.
You're talking a lot. Show me what you got.
So as they're leaving the bar, Garrett, the bartender, calls out because it's a small town. Everybody knows everybody. And it seems like everybody really is fond of Natalie. And so he pulls a breathalyzer out and makes Alaric take it. And he blows a .02 because of his really fast metabolism. He's a bear. And Garrett's like, I'm going to call her husband and let him know she's on her way. And he's like, do that. I'm sure he'd be thrilled to know. I grabbed Alaric's hand then, a very unprofessional thing to do, but I didn't care how it looked. Marriage, fidelity, professionalism. What the for those things anyway. Nat, is this going to cause issues? I'm happy to get you home, but I don't want to piss off your husband. Yeah, she's like, as if he's with another woman right now anyway. And then Alaric's like, then he's an idiot. I don't know what agreements you and your husband have between you, but I can say without a doubt, you'd never catch me going elsewhere if I had someone like you at home. You're beautiful, you're smart, you're passionate. He shook his head, a flush rising from beneath his thick beard, spreading up and over his cheekbones. He doesn't know how good he's got it. She steps closer to him, knowing it's a bad idea that they have to work together for months, okay? But screw it. She says, take me home, Alaric. And he says, come on, Natalie Granger, let's take you home. And I thought this was a typo at first. Like maybe she forgot what her name was because she introduced herself as Natalie Bailey, but he called her Natalie Granger. And I'm like, what are we doing? But yeah, it's on purpose. There's a point. There's a reason. Okay, so just stick with me. Chapter 4. So she stares at Alaric and just drinks him all in. But then she also wonders how Paul can do this with other people. Like, sure, they were in a dry spell, but like that's part of marriage, isn't it? And Paul had just decided to give up instead of work it out. Now, I don't know personally if this is true, but I don't feel like choosing to open your marriage is necessarily a sign of a failed marriage or a failing marriage or giving up, as she said. Now, of course, Paul's not doing it correctly, and he has, unbeknownst to her, been open in their marriage this entire time anyway. I think it's more about like, you know, there's a stagnant period, and if you're both open and willing and consent to opening it up and seeing if there's other ways to fulfill your needs and just to spice things up or make things interesting, or I don't know. I feel like that isn't necessarily a sign of giving up. So I'm not judging polyamory at all, but she's hurt because she didn't sign up for this and he did not consult with her about this. He just told her that they were opening it up. And like I said, he's already been cheating the entire time anyway. So, you know, she's hurting and she's having a lot of feelings, and that's valid. I'm just saying that I don't necessarily think that choosing to open your marriage during a dry period or period, like at all, is a sign that you're giving up or that there's something wrong with your marriage. You know, do whatever makes sense for you. So all of this is bubbling up in her as they're riding home. And she's passenger seat shotgunning, and she's just bubbling with emotions. And because Alaric is not an emotionally constipated douchebag, he can tell that she's upset. So he pulls the car over to the side of the road and gets out and goes around to her side to comfort her. She starts to cry, and then she looks up at him and she just goes for it. Mwah! And he wants to too. He like leans in, but then he pulls away and he's like, no, not like this. Which wounds her. And I get that. This is like a rejection sandwich, and she's smack dab in the middle of it, or so it feels, you know, even though this is the right choice. He clarifies that he does want it, just not right now while she's sloshed and emotionally damaged. He says it more eloquently than me, so allow me. I want to do that when you've got a clear head and a clear heart, and I don't think you have either right now. And he starts saying even more perfect things about like, your husband's an idiot. If you were married to me, you'd be mine in every single way, blah, 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 you know. And he says that he respects their marriage right now. He's going to respect their marriage. But if at any point during the next few months that they're working together, things change, he'll go with her on that. It's up to her, right? They pull into her driveway, and he decides not to invite the rest of the team to like spend the night in her husband and hers home. He says that they're going to be fine, that they have camping gear. Yeah, it's called being a bear. And he instructs her to like go inside, drink some water, take some ibuprofen, and get some rest. Man, I love an instruction. And so does she, because she does what she's told. She has some water, she takes an ibuprofen, and she snuggles on down, feeling warm as she drifts off to sleep. Chapter 5. POV switch, we're in Coda's mind now. Get up, new POV just dropped. One of the bears, one of the crew, one of the guys. He's like, Alaric shouldn't have left us alone because my twin brother Thorn has already grabbed the phone book and found Natalie Granger in the phone book, but Natalie Bailey, it's supposed to say Granger. So shoo, not an oversight, not a typo. Her maiden name is what they were looking for. Right, got it. So Thorn has been doing some research and found where their self-described true mate lives. And usually when Thorn has a funky idea, Coda knows better than to agree, but this is her. So we jumped into his ute and driven out as close as we dared. Not the ute! Parking the car by the side of the road before stripping off and taking fur. Taking fur is a very interesting little turn of phrase there. And Coda goes on a little bit about the shifting experience. Becoming my bear was like letting out a big yawn. Everything tensed for a moment and then you just were. Less emotions, less worries, less thoughts, pecking at your brain. All of a sudden I was a kick-arse apex predator with all to worry about. Becoming my bear was letting out a big yawn. That's very illustrious without over-explaining it. Love it. Mwah, good job. So they bear out or take fur or whichever one you prefer, and they head off towards their true mate's house to watch for a distance and briefly think to themselves about how modern the house is. I understand that they're all in like the restoration, like construction, whatever business, but like I'm bored. Stop it. And then they saw her. Alaric drives up. She gets out and disappears into the house. Alaric does not follow. But you know what he does do is like drive right over to where they are because he knows that they're there. And he orders them back to their base camp or whatever you want to call it. They recon back at camp and they're like, I thought we decided to take things slow. And Alaric's like, it's not my fault. I walked into the bar and she was there. And he assures them that it didn't go any further, because she's actually hurting. And when Lars wakes up, they'll talk about it. They'll get into all the details. Chapter 6 is Natalie, and she wakes up in pain from all the partying that she did. And then her phone is also a ring-a-lingin'. Paul is there, and he's groaning at her to take her stupid phone call somewhere else. What if you shut the f*** up? It's Lars, the site manager. He wants to request a time to, walk the grounds and see the project and, get acclimated with what they're about to be, thrust into. And he's very short. He's very curt, very like man of few words kind of thing, and asks if she can meet in 10. And she's like, I need to get ready. Can I have about 30? And he sighs, but agrees. She showers and grabs some coffee and takes Paul's car keys because hers is still at the bar and heads on over there. As she pulls up, she almost chokes on her sandwich because the mythologically large god-looking man that she's meeting has her stunned. And she wonders if Lars only employs large men like this with bulging biceps and blue eyes and blonde hair. Cool. She describes him like a Norse snow giant. Remember, he's a polar bear. They do a handshake because that's the professional thing to do. And she feels that weird zap worm thing again with him. But she leads him inside and shows him the site and the building and the clock tower and where her office is, should he need anything from her. As he's scoping out the actual clock tower, he's taking pictures and stuff, and she wanders back in her mind, a memory of her dad bringing her here and stuff. This is what I'm talking about. She's not drunk now, and we keep coming back to these same stories or like expanding on the stories that I already had enough of. And when she kind of clocks back into reality around her, she notices that Lars is like really looking at her like very intently. And then he does something that she doesn't expect. I definitely didn't expect him to bend down, yank off his sneaker, and then slap it down on the wall behind my head, making me jump 10 feet in the air, nor for his arm to wrap around my waist and yank me closer. Spider. I need you to hold my hand because I can't get into why this specific thing is so freaking funny to me. But if you've heard me tell you about my anecdotal spider story, you get it. And I'm channeling it to you now. So she has a phobia of spiders. He shares that he has a phobia of rats. They walk around the room and survey it a little bit more. Chapter 7. It's Natalie's POV. She ignores a call from Paul and says that they can get started right away tomorrow on their work. She has to get them security badges and clearance and all this other stuff because they prefer to work like after hours. And so they'll need key cards to get in the building, all this other stuff. Not important, but mentioned anyway. She asks if they got checked into their lodging okay, and he says yes and thanks her for getting them a place to stay that backs up right against the woods. I wonder why they would need to be so close to the woods. Home. And then Paul calls again, and she answers with a curt, "What?" He's annoyed that she took his car, and then he's also annoyed that she went out drinking alone. I don't give a damn! The audacity. He says that he's going to go get her car and don't wait up for him because he might be out all night. And she goes, bold of you to assume that I won't be out all night. Zing, get him, girl. Lars watches her have this like heated exchange on the phone with Paul. And then after it ended, he nodded and left, like kind of just making sure she's okay, Then she starts up her car and heads off to the bookstore that is owned by her BFF, Biffle Holly, so that they can catch up and chat a little bit. Sometimes you just need your friends, She gets there and Holly is described to us to look like a lost fae princess, bohemian floaty dresses, big hair, green eyes, and she immediately picks up an energy from Natalie and wraps her in a big hug, dare I say a bear hug. And Natalie tells her about what's going on with Paul. Because remember, this is only a week ago that all of this went down, and she hasn't really talked to Holly about it because she's been just too busy drowning in her own feelings about it. And Holly's like, you want me to kick his ass? Yes, Holly. Yes, I do. Chapter 8 is Lars. Lars calls Alaric, which again, this is why it's so annoying that their names are so similar. But anyway, Lars watched her have this fight with Paul, saw her cry. He made her cry, and he's like, seething with rage. The bear inside of him is seething with bear rage. And so Alaric's like, if you get back here, we can talk about some stuff. And he's like, no, tell me now. So he's like, long story short, he spills that Paul doesn't want her. Paul isn't attracted to her anymore and wants to open up the marriage. That's not what he really wanted. I just knew it. Didn't need to meet the dumb to know it was true. Real poly relationships were hard work, harder than a typical pairing. And the heads like him who came blundering into that sort of relationship dynamic had no idea about that, nor any inclination to learn. He wanted to have his cake and eat it too, leaving our mate alone, miserable, crying her heart out. Agree, concur. They keep having a little bit of a back and forth conversation about the whole thing. And again, he's seething with bear rage. And so he asks Alaric about like what the plan is. And he's like, we're moving at Natalie's pace because she's hurting. That right there is why Rick ran things for the rest of us. Bears aren't like wolves needing a complex social structure to live within. Our beasts were naturally solitary creatures, even if our human sides weren't. So while he wasn't an alpha,
what up, dog? I'm the alpha.
Rick was bloody good at keeping all four of us on the straight and narrow. Please don't bring up wolves. I beg you, okay? It's too close. I've had enough. This is not the last time wolves will be mentioned and or catch strays for some reason, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. And if Alaric isn't alpha, then who was phone? I gotta stop making that joke. Y'all are gonna get sick of me. Like the video if you're not sick of me, please. They talk about how hard it is to not just like jump her right away because they're trying to make sure that she's not in pain when she makes there's a lot that comes with this kind of relationship with their true mate, so they want to like take it at her pace. You get it. We were going to talk and talk and talk, and Thorne was going to shut the up while we did until I was satisfied we'd worked out a pathway to Natalie. Because right now, the only thing stopping me from transforming into a 600-kilogram polar bear and raging through this town was the thought of making her mine. And at this point in the script, I was giddy with excitement and creative inspiration because I was like, oh my God, a polar bear. Now, I had assumed since Alaric had been described to have honey golden eyes and this bitch has blonde hair and crystal blue eyes, I was like, oh my God, we're going to get all different flavors of bears. So then I sat there wondering, like, what other bears are there? Because again, there's so much distance between me and bears. I have very limited bear knowledge. I know about black bear. I know about brown bear. I know about grizzly bear. I know about polar bear. I know about koala bear, which would be weird. And I had this idea. I was like, what if one of them is just a panda?
Wow, this girl is amazing.
And his role in their quintuple, polycule, whatever you want to call it, is to sit in a chair and just watch and eat snacks. And I'm here to tell you, I'm here from the future to tell you that would have been really fun, but we don't get that. That idea was more creative than like anything here, but I'm getting ahead of myself again. I'm sorry. Chapter 9 is Natalie. Thank goodness Holly showed up. We were missing the no filter, eccentric, sex positive best friend. I'm gonna kill Paul, make it look like an accident, or we could use this old grimoire that I found recently. She hauled a massive ancient-looking book down off the shelf and dropped it onto her work table with a thump. There's gotta be some kind of black magic bullshit in here that will rot his dick off. So they chat about how she's been dealing with this for a week and she didn't call Holly. I can't imagine why. She's like, I was embarrassed. I didn't want to. I didn't want to say it out loud. And she starts to self-deprecate as she sips herbal tea, which she hates herbal tea, but Holly made it for her, so whatever. And Holly's like, don't do that, girly pop. Don't do this. This isn't about you. This is his issue. He was never good enough for you. Period. He was just a funny prick when we were at school, but he lost the funny and he just became a prick. All he wants to do is drink piss with his mates, watch the footy, and go fishing and There's nothing wrong with any of those things per se, if you're still meeting your partner's needs, but he's not, is he? So Holly's like, let me know how you want to attack this and destroy him, plot, And Natalie's like, how about a distraction? You said you had some books for me. If I'm going to sit at home alone tonight, then I at least want something saucy and slightly rapey to read. Okay, listen. You're going through something. And I believe wholeheartedly that you're allowed to like what you want to like and read what you want to read and do what you want to do as long as you're not, harming anyone else. But also, I don't outright hate you yet. And that's something, we share a name. So I'm going to let this go, but just this one. You get one and this is it, okay? So tread lightly from here on out. They chat some more about maybe going out tonight. And she's like, actually did that last night. And she's like, you didn't call me, biatch. But still like leads her back to her private stash that is filled with, quote, Fabio covered fests. Okay, now I feel like y'all are trying to fight. I said I would let it go, and I did. I said you got one, and now we're back, and it just seems like we're gonna fight now. The assistant, Nikki, who's helping at the store, yells, when you're finished looking at smutty books complete with old lady stains on the pages, I need to go on my break. Yeah. We're definitely trying to fight. Come here! Thank all gods available that one of the bears walks in and ends this rotten exchange. Long, wavy black hair tumbled over his shoulders and his bright hazel eyes surveyed the shop, singing to take it all in with just one glance. But it was his dramatic bone structure and size that truly made him stand out. He looked to be about 6'4", his height making the shop seem so much smaller, and those cheekbones sharp enough that they looked like they'd been carved with a knife. But it feels so right. Yeah, tell me about it. And, ooh, buddy. So we have a black bear on our hands here. And then, you know, obviously in the script, I said here, I was like, what if one of them's a panda and he just sits in the cuck chair and watches as everything goes on? But I'm in the future and I forgot / remembered that they are twins.
Twins!
There's a set of twins. So it's 2 black bears, a polar bear, and I guess a brown / grizzly. I don't know. But the important thing is that there are no pandas. Rats. The language at this juncture is continuously edging towards weird and cringe-inducing for me. Just wanted to throw that out there. Natalie goes and looks for her books. Holly helps the customer. And as she's looking for books, she tells us, people made a big deal about women reading mommy porn these days, but I'm here to tell you, women have been doing it for a long time. I'd snuck some of my Nan's books when I was a tweenager. This is what I'm talking about. Seeing the dashing pirates on the cover and feeling some twitch that I didn't understand yet. Mommy porn, tweenager, stained pages, fest. I beg you to pull back, because I haven't been hating this yet, and now I'm feeling like I might.
So try and talk to me, I'm mad. Pissed.
She goes on about the pirate smut and thinks to herself, ain't no orgasm like the orgasm at the hands of a bad boy. And I just, all right. Yeah, okay. If I were a normal person, I think I would just stop. This would have caused me to DNF, do not finish this book. But I'm not a normal person.
I'm weird. I'm a weirdo.
And you're here and you voted for this, so I must go on. Hoist the sails, mateys, or whatever, I don't know. We're off to sea. Woo, ahoy. I don't know. She's rummaging through the book box, right? And when all of a sudden, are those any good? I looked up to the sound of a masculine voice, as did many of the other women in the reading room. Men in town didn't come into this part of the shop often, and Nikki hissed when asked to go and clean up what he called the bitches box. Why? Because we all went into heat when we were down there. Naturally. Why are we doing this? We were doing okay. We made such a shift, and I just don't know why.
What is the point of this?
Why do you want me to be mad at you? I need some protein if I'm going to survive this. So the guy sits down beside her, and he introduces himself as Thorn. I knew it was Thorn. And she's Natalie, of course. And he asks about the books, like, are women really into this? And she clarifies that it's just on page and not a reality. So don't get arrested trying to emulate it. This is romance from a bygone era where men were men and took their women no matter what, you know. And Holly comes in with some history books for Thorn, because that's what he was there looking for. And she's like, oh, you met Natalie. She's our resident historian or whatever. And he's like, oh, more than a smut historian? Huh, wink. And yeah, she's like, yeah, Natalie's gonna be your boss. Oh my God, how fun. Chapter 10 is Natalie again. Some more chatter about the books, and Holly is now in the conversation, which can only mean good things, which is confirmed when she says that she's going to bring some of the books by her house later and some wine and stuff, and we can play the game. This Natalie and this Natalie are mortified because she's trying somewhat to keep like a professionalism line, you know, but it's not going well. And then Thorn asks, what's the a game? Every time they use some cheesy euphemism for female genitals in a book, you have to drink. Like dewy flower. Softening petals, Holly supplied. Pearl of pleasure, nest of desire. Oh God, remember passion, moistened depths? Okay, so to be honest, I'm not gonna lie to you. We're friends. This game sounds fun. But presenting it to me in your book, after saying things like fest, stained pages, tweenager shit, I just feel like you're setting me up for failure. Like we're gonna have smut in this book, right? So now what? Are you setting me up to expect that you use this kind of language and it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, like self-aware jab that you're making? Or are you not gonna say anything like this? You're tight-roping yourself to your doom, I fear. He checks out and, they leave the store together and he's carrying so many books that he needs her to get the keys out of his pocket. It's just right there, no big deal. She goes on a long tangent about how good he smells and how before Paul, she used to go home with men specifically based on how they smelled, which is something. I mean, I love a good smelling person, okay? Like you've got a nice scent to you. I love that too, but like let me not even lie. One of the best jokes that my friends tell about me is that I like a good medium low ugly man. So I do think that if a man, same level of attractiveness, I'm out. There's two men, right? And they're both like a medium low, but they are very gorgeous to me. Like I do feel like I would lean more towards the good smelling one. So, I mean, Natalie's, am I right? She doesn't shake this man's hand, but she does almost like walk out in front of a car when she's like making her leave, and he grabs her, and now that they are close together, she feels that rush of warmth again from him. The same one she had with Alaric and Lars. Curious. And they head to her office. Chapter 11 is Thorn. And he is too busy. He cannot hear her, okay? It's not computing. It's not clocking to him because of how hot she is, and he wants to bend her over the desk. He's a no-nonsense kind of bear, okay? So a bear who knows what he wants and goes after it. She's like, so what do you think? And because it's bullshit o'clock, he has no idea what she's saying, so he just wings it. She keeps on talking, and he's growing harder and harder by the second. She leaves to go get some stuff. He's growing harder and harder still, and then she comes back and drops the stuff on the desk, which jolts him out of his thoughts. Shit! I jerked out of the chair and sat right down as if in readiness to look at what she found. But that wasn't the reason I'd moved so quickly. Part of me wanted her to notice the way my was standing at attention and saluting her hotness.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
But thankfully, I was thinking with my big head and not my little one. And so instead, I just focused on the folders as she sat them down in front of me. Saluting her hotness. I thought we were going to have a good time. That's what I get. That's what I get. How about we just look at the files? How about we just? They do look at the files. He says they're all perfect. She stares at him a bit. He wants to rut her through the table, but he pulls back, and that's on self-control. And he can sense, right, that she can kind of feel their connection. Like she's just right there at discovering that they're true mates or whatever. Well, one of them, he's the only one there right now. As soon as she recognized that consciously, I'd sweep her up into my arms and then into my car, drive her back to where we were staying and lay her down on the bed between me and Coda.
Twins!
My brother and I, we were two sides of the same coin, and we'd show her that. Give her the twin sandwich experience that women seem so intent on asking us for. I would like to unsubscribe from the twin sandwich talk, okay? I do not opt out. I don't like it, and I forgot that they were twins, and I don't want them to have sex. I just... And their hands brush, there's another of warmth, and he knows that as soon as she clicks it all into place, she will go into heat about it, and he will be there every step of the way. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? I'm in the future. I want you to look at my face. I'm not going to tell you anything. I just want you to look at my face. I think you know. Chapter 12 is Natalie. Wine night with Holly. And Holly, ever the late 20-year-old, is teasing her like this. Oh, K-I-S-S-I-N-G. Because we're adults. But Natalie kind of snaps at her to shut the up, which I would too, but for different reasons. She snaps because she's standing in this house and she just feels overwhelmed, and Holly is not helping. That's why I would have snapped at her. It'd be like, shut the up. How about try the shutting up? She planned to fill this house with love and memories and children, even though the doctor told her she can't have any. We're not going to linger on that too long. She does. We're rolling through. And again, from the future, I am telling you that she does this constantly. It is 290 pages, and at least 100 of them could have been trimmed out with this constantly repeating of things. Just I know. Paul wanted to open the marriage. Paul had started pulling away from her. Paul was cheating. He wanted children. She couldn't give them to him. She started couples therapy. He never showed up. We're just going to keep going over and over and over every single chance you get. It is hell in here, okay? And honestly, I relate. I am also a ruminator, but it is exhausting to read. Could have tightened this up, would have made it a lot smoother of an experience. And like, again, I talked about this in one of the books. I don't know. I've been reading so much lately. I can't even remember. But like in one of the recent reviews that I did, I talked about this like retroactive adding in things. Like you've already set me up. Okay. You told me Paul is horrible. You've told me that he wanted to open the marriage, that he was really cruel about it, very cold, very assertive. He did not consider her feelings in this at all, stripped her of any autonomy, and just said that this is what they were going to do. And so already you've told me that he's kind of a shit husband, because if he cared about her or respected her at all, this would not be how he approached this. So I don't need you to continue to say like all the things that went wrong. Now in the future, when we find out that he had been cheating the whole time, that's different because she discovers it in real time and we are along for that ride. But like going back and talking, because she talks about this and the children that she's not able to have. And she talks about how her parents didn't want her to marry Paul and they were really upset that she did. And she gave up her dreams of being an architect and, you know, all of these things. And then her Paul's family said that he would be different if she was able to give him children. It's just over and over and over. And it's so draining as a reader who is trying to be sucked into this world. It is so redundant and it drains the life out of me. But I'm here for you. I'm doing this for you. Like, I know that the story is complex, okay? And as stories go on, more unfolds. And I understand that. But right now, we are 25% of the way in to an almost 300-page book, a book where you have repeatedly and long-windedly taken plenty of time to go over every single thing that you're feeling and you're thinking multiple times, and it does not stop. I know that it's upsetting. I know that it's only been a week, technically, but a book should be more succinct. Succinct, but still like a powerful bite of the experience, not the whole thing. There's a hot man at the bar, but my husband hates me and wants to screw other people. Let me talk about it for 12 paragraphs. And then there's a hot man at this job site and my husband doesn't like me. Blah, 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 blah. I know, but cut it. Cut. Info dumping every single page. It just wears me out. But anyway, Holly is teasing her again. She asks her to stop because she has to actually work with this extremely hot man, so the teasing is not helpful. Holly takes a sip of her wine and is like, listen, we know what Paul wants. What do you want?
God damn it. What do you want?
She starts to think about it, maybe for the first time ever, because it seems like her life was on autopilot for so long and she hasn't actually stopped to think about what she wanted in like years. And so she starts to have a panic attack. Holly comforts her and she starts to even get more upset because it's been a long time since anyone comforted her, period. And then she starts down memory lane with more exposition again. And listen, I know she's grieving and it's a fresh new grief, but this could have been a prologue. You know what I mean? You know, like this meeting could have been an email. This lengthy aside could have been a prologue. He wants to open the marriage. He never really liked her. He didn't want her to spread her wings. As soon as they got married, he didn't see her as a person anymore. And he completely invalidated her at every turn. They were going through a dry spell. They couldn't have kids. Nobody wanted them to be married. Everybody in the town knows that she deserves better. That's a prologue right there. We don't have to keep chopping the story up with walls of exposition, just lore dumping. Blah. So Holly suggests that they start putting her first. And then they also put Twilight on so that they can complain every time Bella looks constipated and sigh over Taylor Lautner's abs. Taylor Lautner was 16, and I mean, that's it. What else is there? Chapter 13 is Coda. He's outside lurking in the bushes because where else would he be? I hated this movie. I could see the pasty-looking dude on the screen sparkle, even from my viewpoint in the shadows outside my mate's lounge room, and I hated it. Okay, we have a Twilight hater on our hands. Calm down. Not only had it gotten another generation of girls panting over wolf shifters who literally did not need any more good PR, but I hated the way her friend squealed over the bare chest of a guy with a really bad wig, and the fact that my mate looked at it. Not you getting all lime green jello over Jacob Black.
You're totally jello. You're lime green jello and you can't even admit it to yourself.
Also, what are you talking about? Good wolf PR. You're a maniac, okay? And I would argue that it was nothing but bad PR for wolves and indigenous tribes, like literal indigenous tribes that were demonized in the movie. This is not good PR. Shut the up. So he watches a little longer, and then Holly leaves because she's got an early day tomorrow because a bunch of tourists are coming in for her fake tarot reading. So she's a grifter. Great. Love her even more. As Holly leaves and he sees his mate start to like gather up the trash and clean up, he can feel the emptiness and the loneliness in the house. And he thinks to himself, like, what would she do if I just showed up on the porch? Like, she'd feel the connection. She would capital K. No. You know? And he snapped back to reality when Holly yells, "Later, bitch!" Stupid. So he watches Holly get into her car, but she does kind of like scan the woods, almost as if she can feel something there. And he tells us that she can't see him unless he wants her to. And besides, the only woman whose eyes I wanted on me was inside this house, not outside it. I got it. No, I understood. You didn't have to. Anyway, alone at last with his girlie, watching her from the bushes, and he loves how like unmarred she is. She's not self-conscious. She's just free because she thinks she's alone and not being stalked from the bushes. And he would just die at the chance to get in there and help her clean up and spoil her in a way that Paul could never. She brings some of the pizza boxes out to the trash and she hears like a twig snap and she looks, but she doesn't see anything. And then she's said to, quote, give a mental shrug. I don't know what a mental shrug is. A regular shrug is, I don't know what a mental shrug would be. Hold on. I think I just did one. I know that like it's kind of like an internal thought of, oh, well, like a mental shrug. But how would you, a bear not inside her mind, perceive that with your eyes? Because remember, we're in Coda's POV. It just makes no sense. So she walks back inside and he ups the stairs and he watches her blurry silhouette like disrobe and hop in the shower. He thinks about how she will never have to shower alone again if she doesn't want to. They'd all argue over the honor of bathing her. Cool. And he's edging into the shadows so that he doesn't shoot all over the grass because of course he's aroused. And then she turns her light off. And Coda stands in the darkness feeling like he's at a disadvantage. Like, sure, they've all agreed to like wait and do it on her terms, but he's currently the only one that she hasn't physically met yet. So, you know, he's lurking because he is one with the darkness. I am the night. And he proves it by sneaking into her home. He slinks into her bedroom where she is sleeping and he only touches himself once because he's not there for him. Oh, thank God. Phew. He mentions powers. And we find out that his is dream walking, where he can like enter into people's dreams, like that episode of SpongeBob, and talk to people and experience things with them in their dreams. This is the only power that's expressed. I don't know of any other bears having any powers. It's not mentioned in the book. But Coda can dream walk. Coda is like,
let's make trouble in the dream world.
Sure. So he dives into her dream and her dream avatar opens her eyes and mistakes him for Thorn because, hello, twins, and she hasn't met him yet, so she doesn't know he exists. And he just lets her think it's Thorn and proceed to have a little sexy time with her. But he won't give in just yet. Not until her waking mind wants her the way her sleeping mind so readily does. I hate this. I hate this for several reasons. I will list them now. 1, cuts down on the anticipation and tension. I have been waiting for all of the bears to meet together and like we're building, it felt like we were building to this thing where she readily wants them in the waking world, and this is kind of cheapening the whole thing because it cuts the tension in half. Number 2, you broke in. And after Alaric and everybody agreed that you're taking it on her pace. Number 3, you wandered into her dream, which is a violation. I know it's not real, a little bit of a violation. Usually I like dreams being used as plot devices to like move the story along, nightmares especially, love a nightmare, but I hate this. And number 4, you just continued on letting her believe you were Thorn. It's just kind of insidious, is it not? Whatever, chapter 14. So we're all still making
trouble in the dream world.
but this time from her POV. Oh, goody. And she moans the name Thorn. And somehow in this experience, she's aware that it's a dream and it just allows her to sink in further and like exercise autonomy within this dream space. She's like, we can't do this. And he's like, but we can't stop. Thorn is like, he doesn't make you feel like this, and just slams his mouth into her mouth. She explains this washing over her feeling, like all of this, like arousal and lust and feelings and the smooches. And she comes away, like she breaks away from the kiss and says, it's like coming alive again. Sure. Good, great. He promises her pleasure like she's never felt before, and it's giving Cenobite.
We came, now you must come with us. Taste our pleasures.
Pain, blah, blah, blah. Thorn, it's Coda. Thorn trails some kisses on down over her booballes, and she's thrilled because in the dream world, she has no like loyalty. She doesn't have to feel bad. It's a dream, right? The gloriousness of dreams. Paul's technique was to twiddle with my tits. Twiddle your tits. Like the radio dials. Like he was trying to tune an old school radio, and as a result, he's only ever gotten crackling sounds from me. A crackling sound? So he's here doing this with your nubs, right? And you're going like Judy from Doug when she was pretending to be liver and onions sizzling in a pan.
I am the onions and you are the liver. Start sizzling.
That is not the sound you want coming out of your wife, okay? A swipe of his tongue desensitized my skin, then a low grunt as his fingers dug into my breast, the nipple throbbing harder in response, forcing it into a firm peak before latching on. Look, I know everybody's different. Every body is different in the way that it reacts and the way that it presents and the way that it looks and feels and smells and all that stuff. And I'm happy for you. But I'm going to tell you right now, for me personally, I don't think my nipples have ever throbbed in this way before unless we want to talk about breastfeeding, and I don't think we do. Are they going to do it in the dream world? Like, I don't think that I want that. Like, again, I usually love when dreams are used as a plot device. Hello, one of my favorite dark romances that I've ever read was Sing Me to Sleep by R.M. Virtues. And it was a woman navigating grief and starting a sexual relationship with her sleep paralysis demon. So, like, I love a dream world. Love making
Trouble in the dream world.
But I just feel like this is taking away more than it's giving. You know what I mean? I'm gonna eat your pretty little cunt. Oh, okay. I'm gonna gorge myself on your slick. Oh my. He's like, yeah, you've been damp about me all day, haven't you? And she's like, yes. No. She's been damp over Coda. No. She's been damp over Thorn. See, even I'm confused. You are not your brother. She doesn't know who you are. You're pretend. Ooh, it's just weird. Paraphrasing, he tells her to like hold on to the headboard because he's about to rock her world in a way she has never seen the likes of. So she does. You know, she's grabbed on. And he instructs her or says to her, look at your clit. All swollen and standing up, looking for attention. Poor little thing. The way this threw me into a spiral. First of all, many things, okay? We didn't say a lot, but we did, and I have many thoughts. First of all, I can't look and hold on to the headboard. I am not a contortionist. Second of all, standing up, and this is not an anatomy thing, okay? I understand, again, bodies are different. Everybody's body is different, and it reacts differently, and it looks different. I understand that. But as far as me and my go, I mean, I'd say she's sitting down, if anything. And the standing up, the use of the word standing up just made me think of
Captain, my captain.
especially after hearing that his was saluting her hotness. It's just, there's a lot of choices happening here, and I don't love all of them. Can I say that? He's chowing down. She's living. She arrives or something. And then she can kind of feel like she's waking up almost. And then he says, "What's that? Bit toey, love." And toey means anxious or nervous. Sure. It's fine. You know, she told us in the note that there were going to be some colloquialisms that were similar to Australian slang or whatever. But "was that?" just made me think of "was that?" Was that? She comes out of the dream to a sloppy, limp-dicked Paul. pawing at her. She tells him to stop because he's being a bit rough and he's hurting her. And, he stops and then says that he didn't even want to fuck her anyway, was just going to go to sleep, but decided to throw her a bone. And he goes to sleep and she goes into the shower and wills Dream Thorn to show back up and finish the job. And he does, and tells her that she will arrive and remember this tomorrow. So then we have a mid-chapter coda switch, which I don't really always love, but whatever, fine. So this big bitch bumbles back to the bear lair in his bear form. So he goes in, hijacks her dreams, gets her across the finish line, and then goes, goofy. And his twin brother, Thorn, meets him there and is like, did you have fun? Because they're connected. Okay, they all are in some sort of a way, but they're twins. I could feel that. Alaric also comes in and busts up their little fun recounting of the experience thing because he should not have done that. Coda, you should not have done that. But at the very least, you should have told us. He tells them to go to bed, so they do. And the twins share a room. Unclear that they share a bed, I don't think, but they do share a room. And he says that they are like chalk and cheese, but connected regardless. And this is another little phrase that is not known to me, but I looked it up and it just means like they're polar opposites. I guess it's the equivalent of our phrase, apples and oranges. I'm guessing, if I had to guess, that if they're in separate beds, then they have a twin bed.
When I was a boy, I laid in my twin-sized bed and wondered where my brother was.
And then they turn to face each other in their beds and they talk about the dream walking and how Thorn has some ideas for next time. And then, quote, Coda says, thanks, quote, Thorn regales me with wilder and wilder scenarios right until I fell asleep. So they're twins and they're laying in their little beds all cozy, snug as a bug in a rug. And Thorn talks him to sleep with erotic scenarios. I have sisters, okay? I have them. I have friends that feel like sisters. Never, ever, ever would I lie in bed beside my sibling and talk to them about sex until we fell asleep. But I'm not a bear. Chapter 15 is Natalie. She didn't expect to see Paul the next morning, but there he is. And he mentions that they have to go to his parents this weekend. And she's like, no, you have to go to your parents this weekend. And then she thinks about a memory that I don't care to recount because, again, this is just constantly going over and over and over and over things. Family, belonging, criticism from in-laws, no children to speak of. Again, we've done this. And you know what? After the little romp that they've had and the language that's used, standing at attention, saluting your beauty, whatever it was, fest, stained paint, all of this. Now that I know what awaits me, is it wrong to want to just stay here and stall? How are you? How have you been? We must press on. He's like, if you don't go, everybody's going to know that we're having problems. And she's like, everybody already knows that we're having problems. Am I just expected to go play dutiful wife while you were running around other people? And you know what? Honestly, valid. I love this for her. Good. Stand on business. 10 toes or whatever. He's like, whatever. You should try it. You need to get laid. If anybody will deign to give you that. And she's like, you know what? Bet. Fine. And he like, he does not receive that well. She's like, that's how it works, right? That's how polyamory is supposed to work. Ethical non-monogamy. I'm supposed to be forthcoming about what I'm doing. So tonight, I'm going to town to find someone to, and he grabs her arm roughly and tells her to be ready at 5 o'clock. Girl, don't do it. Don't do it. She does. She's dressed and ready to go at 5 p.m. Girl, no, get up. They drive separately, though, and, a win is a win. But to be honest, I think we're all losers here. Yeah. She arrives first to the family gathering, and it's like family and acquaintances and just like, small town, everybody knows everybody. So it's a bunch of people, and they're all like, where's Paul? Where's Paul? And she like rebuffs all of them and goes outside where Sean, one of the oldest brothers of somebody, I don't know, he's there. And, they have some chat, some banter. It's boring. And then he drops a bombshell of a question. Okay, hold on to something. How are you dealing with the Paul and Brittany thing? The what? Chapter 16 is Natalie again, and Brittany and Paul are both there. Brittany is a friend of the family. Isn't that sweet? And Paul has finally arrived, and they're out there just chatting with people like it's normal. And it is a gathering, after all, so it is somewhat normal, but she's just kind of stunned watching them act like nothing's wrong. And Sean has an open marriage, too. He says it saved their marriage, right? So he takes this opportunity to shoot his shot with her, and he mentions, like, well, since you didn't have any kids, you retained your figure. Gross. See yourself out before I kill you. And he's like, do it. Give me a shot. Paul shouldn't be the only one having fun. And she storms out past everyone, gets in her car. Paul follows her, as well as the in-law, the mom, I think. She busts him out in front of her stupid mom and says that she's leaving. She's getting her shit and she's moving out. He's like, we'll talk at home. She's like, no, we won't. I'm leaving. And then she does. And she calls Holly to tell her that she is divorcing Paul. Hooray! She goes home to pack so that she can stay for a little while with Holly until she figures out what she's going to do. She gets there. Holly offers her some wine, but she needs to sleep because she has this big project that she needs to focus on. So she needs all the rest that she can get. So she goes to sleep. She gets settled into the guest room. All events of the night and the past week and so are playing in her head, and she tells us about it. There is no skimping on this kind of thing, I tell you. She cries herself to sleep, which is great because when sleep comes, dreams come. And when dreams come, Thorn comes. And when Thorn comes, he comes. Chapter 17 is Lars, the first Lars chapter, I believe. And he hates seeing... No, it's not the first Lars. Is it? I don't know. Who cares? He hates seeing her like this. They're at the office. She's beautiful, but she looks pale and exhausted and sad, and all the bears can see it, even as she warmly greets them for the day. She's so strong. She takes them to meet the mayor, who is awful and dismissive and kind of rude and condescending to her. And thankfully, Alaric's there to step in and make sure all the other bears don't bear out and rip him to shreds. Alaric's good like that. He turns to Natalie and offers her some breakfast. Like maybe they can go on a little group outing and get some breakfast to get the project on the right foot, you know? She's like, okay, we can go to Maisie's. She has great pancakes. They perk up at the mention of pancakes and maple syrup. And she's like, you got a sweet tooth? And they're like, yes. Yes, we do. Yes, they do. They're bears. They love some honey. They love some sugar. Chapter 18 is Natalie. It felt vaguely illegal walking into an eatery with 4 smoking hot men at my back, and yet here I was. So Maisie is the owner of this little breakfast establishment, and she greets Natalie warmly and asks about the hunk train that just pulled into the station. That'll keep Paul on his toes. And she's like, we're separating. They're fixing the clock tower. Me and Paul are donezo. Maisie's like, I got something they could fix. Oh, does your not stand up either? Okay, good. No, see, I thought it was just me. I've lived in a small town before, and it's just, this is not how conversations go. Like I've had boyfriends and partners who are very attractive, and we don't just like walk into places and they're like, ooh, he could take me for a spin. I'm like, I don't know you. Can you please just ring up my muffin? Not a euphemism. This is when she finally gets to meet Coda, and Lars like stands up and pulls her chair out for her, and he's just like, she just can't even, oh my God. And they're all tossing like food items into their order, like pancakes and protein and sausage and blah, and Coda staring at her, right, menacingly. He says, chocolate chip pancakes. And she thinks, oh my God, how did he know? They're her comfort food. She'd eat them all the time if she could. She loves chocolate chip anything, really. It's just like, oh, how did he know? You know, kind of thing. And it's probably because he's some sort of magical bear, if I had to guess. But she doesn't know that, so whatever. So they're all scrambling to feed her and dote on her hand and foot, which is nice, sure, but I would be a little overstimulated and annoyed. Like, this is not the reason that I think polyamory isn't for me, but it's one of them. Like, stop, just stop. Okay? Just shush. They're plopping things on her plate left and right. And she's like, listen, y'all might be able to eat like this because y'all have a physically demanding job, but I just sit all day. If I eat like this, I'm going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Any bloke who complains about the size of a woman's arse needs his man card revoked. Okay, who said any goddamn thing about blokes? What if she doesn't want to get bigger and bigger? What if that? Like, why did we have... oh God, she might just not want to suck down a plate of breakfast meats every single time she eats. They eat and they chat about places to source materials for the project locally because that's very important to them. She says she'll organize a press release to get the word out, and the conversation dies right on down because old Paul pulls up outside and wanders his stupid ass right into the cafe. Chapter 19, Natalie. He comes inside talking shit. Like, where's my car? Blah, blah, blah. And then the men bears stand up, and he's like, God, these are some big fellas. I can't imagine the train they must be running on you. And at this, Alaric jumps into action, which, you know, he's the reserved one, the one that keeps them all in line. So that's saying something. All 4 of them, Paul's mouth twisted into a sneer, his eyes glittering. You really are if you finish that sentence, I will not be able to stop my guys from punching your teeth down your throat. You know that, right? Because I'll be right here with them, rearranging your face until you'll be lucky to drink your beers through a straw. And she says that this is similar to one of those core memories from Inside Out. And I know what you're talking about. I just wish that the pop culture references would die down. They're not as heavy as I've seen before, but they are too frequent for my taste. We get it. Twilight and this and Mount Doom and now Inside Out. It's just, you know? And this, like them standing up for her must just embolden our girl, because she then tells him, what I do and don't do and who I do it with is none of your business. You lost that privilege. I was going to cite Brittany as that turning point, but really it went beyond her. A long time ago, I was a good partner. I looked after you even when you didn't look after me. I put up with your shit, your family shit, and now you can go pick up your car outside Holly's and keep the out of my life. As she should. Paul is like a barking yappy dog that doesn't know when to quit, and which is bold. Like, there are 4 large men staring you down, standing on business, and you still want to run your stupid mouth. So he's like, you need to get your shit out of my house or I will throw it out in the yard, blah, 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 blah. And the bears are like, nah, mate, that's not going to happen. You got to go through the courts. And if you remove any of her stuff, we will call the police and we will put you in the hospital. And Paul should back off at this, but he doesn't because he's dumb. He says that he should have known that she didn't leave on her own because she's too weak for that. It had to be the 4 of them. And then all 4 of them lunge towards him, but Paul runs off like a little bitch. She starts crying then, as 3 pairs of honey golden eyes and 1 pair of icy blue eyes watch her. Chapter 20 is Thorn. Thorn recalls how excited he was when Alaric first told him that he thought he found their mate, but like this, watching her in this much pain is killing him because he's not good at this kind of stuff. He's good for a laugh and a good time and a good, roll in the hay or bear cave, wherever you be rolling with bears. He gives her a thankfully cleaned and pressed by his mother handkerchief to dab her tears with, which I don't know why we mentioned that. I don't think moms ever come back up. And, she apologizes for all of this, and Alaric steps in to say, that guy, your ex, is obviously a fucking muppet of the highest order. And that gave me a chuckle, and it gave her a chuckle as well. And she's like, I sure know how to pick him. And Coda is like, he wasn't like this in the beginning. And the other bears are like, what the fuck? And she is too. She's like, how the fuck do you know that? And he's like, no one is. That's how abusers are. They get you to trust them first, and then they flip the switch on you. Dare I say, they pull an Uno reverse. So she apologizes some more, and they comfort her some more, and Thorn goes to pay the bill while the rest of them go outside and discuss like protection orders and stuff. And while he's paying the bill, Maisie is like, you need to take care of that girl. She's special and was going to do great things, but Paul dragged her down. She deserves better, so look out for her. And he's like, I'll do what I can, but I'm just here to fix the clock tower. This is way overly familiar in a way that really annoys me. Like, I understand it's a small town and everybody likes her, but like, not every town is Stars Hollow. This town doesn't really give a shit about the clock tower. That's all Nat. Always fussing over old buildings. But I'll tell you what, you fix that girl, make her feel better, help protect her from the Baileys and their bullshit. She nodded then. I'll give you all the pancakes you want and a vat of maple syrup to go with it. You got yourself a deal. And then he walks outside to meet the rest of them. And that's when Alaric comes up with the brilliant idea that, you know what? He thinks that you're doing all of us. Use that. Lean in. Let's do fake dating. She agrees, and Thorn thinks to himself, nothing fake about it, but she doesn't know. And it'll be fun to let the rumor mill swirl that she's dating all of them and choosing which one she wants, Eventually she'll get all of them because they are her mates after all. He steps up to quiet her mind by saying that doing this for her is a gift for them. They don't have much going on anyway besides the project, and they want to make sure she's safe and cared for. They will come by at the end of the day. They'll meet her in her office and discuss it more. Great. I guess somewhat, not really. Chapter 21 is Natalie. She scuttles on back to her office to freshen up because that was a lot. That was quite a rush, actually. The pleasure that had come from seeing those 4 massive men form a wall between me and the abyss had been a double-edged sword, though. Sure, a small primal part of my heart had loved it. Stand up for me, protect me, pound this head into the ground and make him rue the day he ever thought to treat me like shit. It beat. Oh, a primal part of her heart. It beat. I don't like that. But along with that satisfaction came the memory of his cruel words. The fact that it's 4 of them, well, that just makes sense because you're that fucking weak. Rude. Her boss comes in. He's kind of shitty and puts a lot of pressure on her to make sure the job gets done without any mistakes or oversights or leftover fees that they're going to be caught handling on their own. And then she goes to the security office, who is like head up by a man named Jonas, and he is like reluctant to give her clearance for these people. And so she's like, hey, listen, you know how I always help you with shit that you would rather the higher ups not find out about, like how you keep getting viruses from just watching YouTube? Do this for me and leave me alone. So, you know, he agrees. And then when she turns, she sees Alaric standing there watching her, and he like kind of gives her a little grin. He's there to take her to the clock tower and show her what they've gotten done today. This is day one, but they, you know, hit the ground running. They go up, she goes up into the workstation, and they are being hot but productive. The top 40 hits are playing. They're dancing and getting their work done. You know, like, why not have a good time when you're doing your job? Okay, I'm a big believer in this. I mean, look at us. And then she thinks of Alaric's words from the night at the bar, the first night that she met him. You'd be mine, body, mind, and soul, and no other bloke would get a chance to even look at you, let alone get their hands on what belonged to me. God, this book is so long, and it's so slow. It's going so slow. I hate that. So she's flustered at their hotness and everything, and she tries to make a quick exit, but Alaric stops her, and he's like, hey, let's talk tonight, because one of us needs to take you out in a very public way. Thorn is too forward. Alaric already had a technical date, so Coda steps up. It is his night. Finally, Coda gets to spend time with her as himself, not in the making trouble. He says he'll pick her up at the bookstore at 6. So they're like, okay, cool, one guy per night. And Alaric is like, unless she feels brave enough to take all 4 of us out on a group date one night. And she's not feeling brave currently, so they agreed to like work up to that and just do one at a time from now on. Later, she meets up with Holly and fills her in on everything. And Holly says, holy f***ing romance trope, Batman.
Dumb.
Dating all of them? But then something changed in her expression. The shock washed away and was replaced by a devilish gleam in her eyes and a feral smile. Couldn't have happened to a nicer girl. Chapter 22 is Natalie. I'm only halfway through. I'm only halfway there. She is nervous and getting ready for her date when sexaholic bestie Holly walks in and says that the jeans were a good choice. They make her look, quote, downright fuckable. And then they start a conversation about when the last time she gotten laid was, and she doesn't remember, and it kind of upsets her. Which, fair, you know. And of course they're going to talk about when the last time she got laid was, because what else are they supposed to talk about? Like connection, her getting back out there, the whole concept of fake dating and having safe boundaries so that she doesn't get in over her head, maybe even just how she's feeling, how her heart and her head are feeling amidst all of this. No, we're here to talk about sex. So again, she doesn't remember because it's been so long with Paul. And saved by the literal bell, Coda is there and he's dressed up and he brought her flowers. And Holly answers the door and she's like, oh my God, you got flowers. When's the last time that happened? And she's like, my wedding, which also makes her sad, you know? And she reminds herself, like, this is fake dating. This is fake dating. But damn it, is she tired of being lonely and ignored? And man, he's hot. So, you know, what's a girl to do? He brought roses and he also made them reservations at one of the prettiest restaurants in town. Do you want to guess what the name of the restaurant is? I'll wait. Cave. Yeah. They leave and she stops at the bottom of the stairs because she's like, listen, we need to establish some ground rules, okay? Because I'm messed up. This is a weird time for me and I don't want to get like all swept away. You brought flowers. I need rules if I'm going to survive the next 3 months with you guys. Before she gets swept up into the dream of it all. Coda's just standing there listening. But when she mentions like the dream of it all, he's like, well, isn't that what dreams are for? Like letting your fantasies run wild. Imagine I was a dream lover, he told me. A ridiculous statement, but there was something about his voice, about the wild dreams I'd been having about his brother. Or maybe they'd been about Coda? That had me stopping my retreat and listening to him. You can direct me to be anything you want. Don't have any more worries about what I want. Just focus on what you want. Can you be selfish for me? I glance up, expecting censure in his eyes, but only seeing a curious intensity. Can you use me to get exactly what you want for once? Because I think it's been a long time since you've done that, if ever. You want me to use you? Yeah, that's what he said. He said it would be his honor for her to use him, and so she stands up on tippy toes and kisses him in a very shy way, but it's like perfect. And he says, again, the answer with her is always going to be yes, so just... if it's his to give, he will give it willingly. They drive to the restaurant. The waitress is polite, but says she doesn't see her name. And so Coda's like, it'll be under blah, 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 whatever his name is. And she's like, oh, right this way, and leads them to the table. They sit. He orders a beer and then whatever the lady wants. And man, does she like the sound of that. See, this is fun. This is fun. If we had more of this and we trimmed down that exposition that's constantly rolling through a backlog of memories that we've already established and visited more than once, then I feel like this could be so much fun. I just replace those things with things like this where they're going out and they're being cutie and they're, developing their characters and showing their distinctions. Like there's 4 bears and I'm having a hard time remembering which one is which. And so, it would be really fun. And they get to express themselves based on what kind of date they take her on. Like it shows their personality and stuff. But no, we have to talk about how his parents always wanted kids and she can't have them and he's an asshole who doesn't want her. We have to talk about that 5 times minimum. Chapter 23 is Coda, and I love when people do yard work when I'm filming. It's like my favorite thing. So he's freaking out a little bit because he's the first one to take her on a date, and he's not good at this. He's not good at the small talk, And that kiss she gave him, that little kiss, it had sent explosions going off in my head, my dick almost punching a hole in my jeans, right as I heard choirs of angels singing in my head. A shaped hole punch would be funny. I Googled it, does not exist, but I would buy it if it did. She asked how he got into the work that he's in, and he explains, but it's not really relevant. Paul comes up again, and, he's like, I don't care who this guy thinks he is. I just care about you. And he grabs her hand, and she's like, I like that more, please, of the physical contact. So he, moves over closer to her, and, there's a little moment. But, of course, the waitress walks up and cuts that tip in half and asks if they know what they want to eat. And she's been here before, so she knows what's good. And she says, the chef is great, but I know what's good and what isn't. Okay, so is he great or not? What are you talking about? This is a personal preference at this point. You said he was great. Everything should be good if he's great, but I digress. So she just rattles off a whole bunch of stuff and they're going to share, home style kind of thing, sharing everything. And then she asks him another question, but he's like, I'm boring. I want to know more about you. So, she starts with her parents, which led to her getting the job and how she wanted to be an architect and she wanted to build her own castle with safety. And he's like, nothing wrong with that as long as everyone inside the castle is sharing the responsibility. And she talks about how she was a good wife and he asks if Paul was ever good to her. Probably not. And he does mention, he's like, I know humans don't want to talk about their exes on dates, but I want to know everything about this woman and everything that's hurt her and, what fair, She said that his mom always thought that he would start acting better if she was able to give him children. And Coda says, why would someone who can't look after his wife make a good father? She looked up into my eyes. He wouldn't have. She kind of has this light bulb moment that he wouldn't have been good at this because he wasn't good at taking care of me and loving me. And, we don't have time for me to go into this today. We really, really don't. Now, it can happen that a man who's not good to you, his partner, can be a good father because if he's selfish and narcissistic, then he views the children as an extension of himself. And who is more important to him than him, right? So he sees his children as extensions of himself and also as human being people. But I can't do this. I can't do this right now. I cannot go down this road with you. Believe me, it's paved and lined and ready for me to travel it, but I simply cannot do it today. So let's keep going. She realizes that kids would have in fact trapped her and that she still would have been left doing all of the work. The waitress shows back up with some of the entrees and she's like, oh my God, you're going to love this one. Do you love honey? And he's like, I love honey. See, every now and then there's these little pockets of levity and jokes and good times. And I just wish that we didn't have to drag the whole fucking party down every single time she ruminates on something that we've already talked about. Chapter 24 is Natalie. So aside from being a restaurant, it also has a walkable garden. So they head outside and they're just strolling through the garden under the moonlight. It's all very romantic. She jokes that the others are going to have to bring their A game if they want to top this date that he's on and, improve the Yelp review that she's going to leave for their fake dating skills. And she's a little flirty, and so he matches it because that's the plan, right? We're going to go at her pace, so he matches the energy and she starts feeling like this might be a bad idea because, things like this with Paul were always transactional. He's going to expect something out of me. So she pulls back. And so she, he tries to get her to talk to him and she spills, I don't want to do this. And she just braces for his anger and his entitlement, because that's what she's used to. And he offers to take her home, whatever she needs. And he starts apologizing if he gave her the wrong idea because he'd be happy to do whatever with her. And he just starts listing off all these fun little date ideas. Let's go do donuts in the parking lot. Let's dress up in lingerie and go see the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but not too much lingerie because I think I might like it too much. I don't know what you're trying to tell me here, but okay, we can could watch movies on the couch. I don't care. I care about being with you, not what I can get out of you. And God, what did this do to you? And he's like, I don't do women unless they want me to. And then he gets like a little serious, a little sexy with it. And he's like, not until they're begging me to do it, to do what only I am capable of doing. Blah. Bare balls in her court, so to speak, is what he's saying. And, you know, she's in control of where things go. And if they go there, and they are, because she is touching up on him, like touching his rock hard abs underneath his shirt and then taking his hair down and just sitting there and smelling him. And she's like,
I'm weird. I'm a weirdo.
It would be so weird if someone saw me just out here smelling this guy. Well, he's a bear and he's your mate. So, you know, I'm not judging you. I'm not saying that you wouldn't also be correct that somebody else might judge you because they don't have all the ins and outs. But she's loving it, and he seems to too. So he just lets her continue to explore him, and she's telling herself that she shouldn't get all caught up in this just because someone's nice to her. And I think that that is a rational vantage point to come at this with, because it can be, you know, like the rebound. Like we understand what a rebound is, but it can be damaging in the long run if you're not ready for that, you know. They drive back to Holly's, and she kisses him in the front seat of his car. I reach over, putting my elbow on the center console, my mouth seeking his, even if I pulled back as soon as he moved. He was careful still, like a predator on the hunt, not willing to scare his prey. But this little fluffy bunny, she wanted to be caught, to feel the fangs sink into her skin. I don't want you to be a rabbit. Can we not do a rabbit? I have done rabbits, and I don't want, well, I haven't done rabbits. Not another rabbit, I swear. They make out, and he thanks her for the fake date and says to call him if she ever wants another one. She goes upstairs and she tells Holly all about the date, and then she excuses herself to go to bed so that she can go dream and let Dream Coda finish what real Coda started. I don't like this, but thankfully I don't have to deal with it because it's a closed door experience despite there being a POV switch. Like, I thought we were going to POV switch and it was going to be Coda's experience in her dream world, but we don't do that. So Coda POV switch. He gets back to the house, raring to go. He is just rock solid, a little slab of granite, and tells the others that they need to go out into the woods and bear out. And while they're out there, he tells them, I'm going to walk her dreams tonight. She's got some up ideas about how the way it works between men and women. She's not ready for anything physical with us yet, but in her dreams, I can show her exactly how it will be when she claims us. Okay, yeah, I get it, you know, but like, Thorne says that the last time he dream walked with her, that Thorne could feel it, and it left him hard enough to hammer nails with my dick. So we got a dick hole punch, we got a dick hammer. You know, it's really good that they're in the construction business with all of these genital-shaped tools that they're just toting around. They agree not to rush her because they have to take this on her speed. Why are we continuing to say it? Like, you've already said it. We've already said it. And his bear self is excited about the day that she will be theirs. Chapter 25 is Natalie. Alaric finds her in her office. He brings her breakfast and coffee. They need to secure some restoration dates. They need to get the security badges. I don't know if any of this is relevant. And then when she goes downstairs, who is in the entryway but Brittany, Paul's new girl, I guess. And, you know, she's overly familiar with her and very well dressed. She goes over and mwah, mwah on either side of her cheeks. And it makes Natalie recoil because, like, what the f are you doing here and why are you acting like this? And she's like, I'm here to meet with your boss about something with my dad's company or blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And she's like, aren't you going to offer me some water or coffee? And Natalie's like, no. And Brittany's like, oh, okay. So you're going to make a big deal about this. Girl, it is a big deal. I know you're not sleeping with someone's husband and then getting mad at her when she doesn't like you or that, or being lied to about that. Like, come on. I don't know why you're actually here. If it's to see Simmons, then scuttle up the stairs and go. But if it's to get in my face, I seriously rethink that. My ex-husband is a lazy, lying sack of shit who's a selfish lover and a terrible partner. I looked back over my shoulder, and when I reached for Alaric, he came forward, wrapping his arm around my shoulder and tucking me into his side. I knew it was all for show, but I felt a rush of warmth, of comfort as I buried my face into his side. And I don't need you to talk to me about the complexities of polyamory, because that's what she's like. This is supposed to be, it's a blah, blah, blah. You know, Brittany, shut up. Zip it. I admit I prefer a reverse harem arrangement where I'm at the center of everything, 4 hot guys worshiping every inch of you. I looked up at Alaric, willing him to follow my lead. I much prefer that to watching Paul dick some rando than not being able to get it up for his partner. But when I glanced back at Brittany, her face had gone milk pale, her mouth turning down at the corners. Whatever gets you off. I don't kink shame. Damn, Natalie, damn. Brittany does, in fact, scuttle up the stairs. My God, what other option is there? I would be mortified. And then Natalie turns to Alaric and is like, I'm sorry, I just threw you in there, like springing you into a fake polycule or whatever. And he's like, it's cool. All my family is in polycules. And he goes into detail. My mom and my mom's mom and my mom's mom's mom. And I don't care and I'm tired and I'm not going to do this. And then she hears a bunch of old chickens giggling from upstairs. Not literal chickens. Okay, I need to say that because we're in a bear book. But like some old biddies are upstairs just giggling and she goes upstairs to deal with that. Chapter 25 is Natalie. She gets up there. The old women are like gawking at Alaric and she shoos them away. But the guys need to sign some forms. And so, she hands them the forms and they kind of all swarm and like kind of fight to see who gets to sign first. And she thinks, gulp, is this how they act doing other things together? They talk about fake dating and like shoring up a schedule of some sort. They say like, we need to like just schedule it out so that you don't have to worry about it. I would die for this kind of initiative. Okay. There's got to be an earth sign in this polycule somewhere. And I love that. Alaric's like, well, we'll do some individual dates, but we'll also do some group dates. And then he fills the rest of the group in on what just went downstairs. And she's like, I got into a dick measuring contest with Brittany. Why would you say that? His against ours? This is Thorn. That wouldn't be much of a contest, I bet. I've got a tape measure in my toolbox that we could check it with. I'm surprised you don't have one built into the side of your rod, to be honest, with all the other tools you have. But at this point, they decide that they're all going to go pick up food together and do a fake date group thing of Netflix and chill, or Netflix and fake chill. You know how it is. Just to get her comfortable about being around all four of them at the same time, and she agrees. Chapter 26 is Thorn, arguably the most exhausting of the bunch. He mentions that he's like shocked that Alaric was able to spin this into a group dating thing so quickly, but he has heard his entire life that when it's your true mate, things just have a way of falling into place. They have another conversation about how she's hurting and they need to move slowly and at her pace. And I am so fucking tired. Thorn goes to ask Coda to dream walk with all four of them and he shuts them down before he can even start. I'm not doing that. And his no is firm. So they get to work, the day flies by, and the boys have a fun little exchange where Thorn is thrilled to be done and Lars is like, always the first to finish. You need to work on that. And Thorn's like, whatever. It makes it easier for you guys to slide into her when she's full of my... Yeah.
Oh man, isn't that so hard?
I thought about how sweet and puffy Natalie's cunt would be after she'd just been fucked, a little cream leaking out of her right before I pushed it back in and added my own. Jesus. Sheesh. Okay? God. He heads to her office because it's his turn, to go pick the food and stuff. And so he takes the steps two at a time and gets in there and just starts yelling all this different food options at her. And she's like, that's good. There's like a Thai place that's good, but she can't meet his eyes for some reason. He makes her nervous. Yeah, maybe it's because you ran in and started just shouting cuisines at her. Why don't you take a second, take a knee, chill the fuck out. He tries to calm her down and she's like, maybe I can't do this. I would like to know how many times we're going to continue to do this. Like, how many more times are we going to have the, I don't know if I can conversation? Like, do it or don't. The boss interrupts and he's kind of weird. And then after he leaves, Thorn pulls her into his lap. Look, I know we're supposed to be doing this fake shit, but that's not my thing. According to Lars, I've got all the subtlety of a brick, so here it is. I want you, Natalie. I want to set you on the edge of that desk, tear down your jeans, push your knickers to the side. Knickers? Not her bloomers. And plunge my tongue inside you over and over until you start screaming so loud this whole office thinks I'm either f***ing you or killing you. Okay. So I'm thrilled that we've talked about going slow and letting her set the pace 6 motherfucking times now, only for you to just blow right past it and it not matter at all. Anyway, he goes on. I'll grow a damn beard like Alaric and Lars, those lumber sexual fucks, just so I can keep the smell of you, the taste of you there on my face long after we finished. I want to f*** you with my big fat... Yes, the one you're currently sitting on, but I would totally settle for giving you multiple O's until you never look sad again, until you forget all the f***ers who done you wrong. And on. But you're not ready for that yet. So do you think we could hang out in this Thai place and then while we're waiting for some killer chicken laksas, you could hold my hand and kiss my mouth and rub your hot little body on mine as well as my buddies, knowing all the while the 4 of us are ready to fucking explode? Yeah? There she was, my cocky, confident girl. Her eyes shone up, her lips twisted into a cheeky smile. Yeah, I reckon I could do that. what was the point in having the conversation about letting her set the pace and going slow and not pushing anything onto her if you're not going to do it? Chapter 28 is Natalie. They go to the Thai place and she's a mess because holy hell, the schlong on him. And she felt it while she was sitting in his lap, you remember? And, you know, do the others have a schlong too? Like, of course they do. Of course they do. But she needs to like take a peek, right? So she's scanning their crotches and Thorne catches her and she's like, oh. And then her phone rings and it's Paul. And Thorne takes it and gets him all riled up talking shit. You had it, the most perfect woman in the world, and you hurt her and drove her away, and I'm fucking glad. You couldn't satisfy her with your pathetic little dick, and you couldn't stimulate her with your dopey little mind, but we will not make your mistake. She's gonna have so many orgasms in a night she has in your entire marriage, and what's worse for you, mate? She's gonna forget all about you. She stands there stunned at this, and he gets off the phone, and the bears swarm her, and she's like, yeah, I guess I needed all this food for all the we're going to be having, so let's go. I want to let you know that there are 44 chapters and we're on chapter 29 and there has not been any actual sex yet, just the dream. Chapter 29 is Natalie and they're back at the bear's place where they're staying and they're divvying up the food and she's like, is feeding me a kink of yours? And they're like, no, caring for you is. It's a deep need. They eat and then they give her the remote to watch TV and she passes over a couple of titles that she would want, but she knows that like they wouldn't want. And she hovers over Bridgerton specifically. And she's like, y'all wouldn't like it. And they're like, but you would. So they take the remote from her and put it on. And then I shit you not, they go on for multiple pages just talking about watching and reacting to Bridgerton. They're all snuggling on the couch. This has got to be a huge motherfucker couch. And then after they stop watching Bridgerton, Thorne starts kissing her. Chapter 30 is Natalie. So remember Thorne mentioned that none of this was fake and that the others are like trying to pull back on it. And so she pushes for more information. He's like, I want you. I have since I saw you. So does Coda. You're our girl. And she looks to Alaric, the more reasonable one, to like clarify, like, is this guy for real? So she has a problem accepting this as true. And it's not because the polycule thing doesn't appeal to her. Like, obviously she didn't have a problem with it when Alaric was talking about him and his family line all doing it, you know, before. But now she's having problems with it because it's her at the center of it. Like, she doesn't feel like she's worth this. And, you know, it's just, she's been going through a lot. And Coda takes her to the side and like helps her catch her breath and talks her through it. And, you know, it's just, she feels something in his hands that she hasn't before. They had to be preternatural creatures, vampires or werewolves or something, because the other three had crept closer and I hadn't even noticed them until I felt a hand lay on my shoulder, then another on my hip, then one stroking through my hair as my eyes fell closed. And right in that moment when my brain shut up and my body was allowed to talk, I felt something I never expected to. So she just feels flush with all of this, I guess. And she kisses Coda and wonders if what she's feeling will carry over to the others. Like, you know, she's never done this before, so what does she know? Lars walks up and gestures for her to come forward, and he makes sure that she's sure before he grabs her and kisses her and then passes her on to Thorne. And, you know, he kisses her, and then it's Alaric's turn, and he's like, this is why I wanted to wait. This is what, and she's like, shut up and kiss me. So he does. Like, they're soft launching the idea of her being the center of the four of them in a polycule or whatever you want to call it. She's like, so how do we do this? And they're like, just as we have been. We're going to like continue to treat you right and give you pleasure and get you ready for us and to make that jump whenever you want. We're already yours, but we want to be sure that you're ready to be ours. But for tonight, Thorne wants some alone time with her. Wink. Chapter 31 is Natalie. She and Thorne get to getting, if you get what I'm saying. Some chatter first. She's exploring him with her hands. Brings up Paul again. He'd just shove my head down and not care if, can we focus, please? Like, I know if you're not ready to stop talking about your ex, and if you can't not think about your ex every single time something like this is happening, then you're not ready for it yet. And that's what makes me even more pissed off, that the Bears completely obliterated their own boundary when they said that they were going to go at her pace, because she's clearly still hurting. She's clearly still sad. And like, sure, this feels good in the moment, but like, she starts playing with his nips, or as she calls them, the flat brown discs. There's a lot of boob talk in here, a lot of nipple action, you know, and she's like, Paul would never let me do this. You mean the same thing Paul did to you that you said you didn't like? Is Thorne making a crackling sound? No, he's living this, actually. So hooray, you know, everybody has their thing. And then she gets some more self-esteem stuff popping up on her and kind of threatening to rain on the parade. And she like says it out loud. She's like, well, y'all are all perfect and I'm, well, me. He's like, I'm imperfect for reals. Ask anyone and they'll tell you. And she's perfect because she's her, you know. And he's like, we can go slow. And then slowly approaches second base, playing with her boobles, or in their words, yes, because I have been off to these perfect mounds of desire ever since we met. Mounds of desire? Mounds of desire, I ask. He shot me a wicked look up the line of my body. I read the Highlander book I bought from your friend's shop, wanted to know if what you were into. You know what, honestly? Pretty clever. Clever here. I don't like it, but it is clever.
That was absolutely perfect without being actually any good.
He says that apparently in those books, it claims that women can arrive just from stimulation of the uptops. Do you want to see if that's true? And she's like, yes, I do. Chapter 32 is Thorn, and he's playing with her baubles, and he's loving it. And so is this bear internally. You know, Bear is frantic in his body like, let me out! Soon, buddy, I promised him. Soon. But right now I had a neglected Sorry, apologies. But right now I had a neglected to see to. As soon as I pulled my mouth off, I knew her neck would be getting a blast of cold air as my saliva dry. Ooh, wow, we are really telling me a lot of things that I didn't want to know. Keeping her senses overloaded as I moved to the other side, I strung this process out a bit, kissing my way up and over the mound, circling the base with my hands and giving it a little squeeze, forcing her up and outward as I move. Like, it's just giving the calm your tits meme. Like, what do you mean you're just forcing them up and out? What are we doing? It's none of my business, though, because she's enjoying herself. And she's like, I want more. And he's like, okay, tell me what you want. She's like, more. And puts his hand down her pants, which I guess we're not seeing if the books were right about the top stimulation getting us to the finish line, because now we're involving other pieces. So whatever, you've skewed the data, but you know, whatever. I'm greatly paraphrasing this, I need to say, because it's a lot. But then he thinks, I don't know about other blokes, but when a girl gets all wet for me, it's like honey for a bear. Yeah. She arrives and he's thrilled, and you know, she's about to leave, but he asks her to sleep over, and she's like, what about you, you know, because she thinks it's transactional, and he's like, I'll just go to the bathroom and jack it real quick, BRB. And he does, and just spews it into the toilet. And I'm not saying that this wouldn't be hot to somebody. Probably everybody has their thing, but I need you to know that this is like the opposite of hot for me personally. Jesus Christ, I hissed as splashed into the water, each pulse feeling like I was being dragged by my swollen balls and then expelled with a violence that shook me. I realized it was because my body was changing just like hers was. I was getting ready to rudder, made her into the ground over and over until she never doubt for a second she was mine. I can't help but know, capital K no, in this moment. I am cursed with the unfortunate knowledge that she still doesn't know that they're bears. Like, we're at chapter 33 now. What do you mean? So he emerges and gives her a larger-than-life t-shirt, and they fall asleep together knowing that he'd burn the world for her if she was his. We know. Chapter 33 is Natalie. She breezes into work the next day in the same clothes she left in from the day before and a goofy-ass grin on her face. Yeah. But that stops dead in its tracks when Gladys, the receptionist or somebody, hands her a bouquet, and she's like, somebody's trying to make up. Oh, they're not from the Bears. Oh, no, it's from Paul. And the card reads, I'm sorry, give me another chance. And if that wasn't enough, her phone rings, and it's her mother, questioning her about the antics, the gossip that's spreading around town. What are you up to? And what's all this I hear about you leaving Paul? How could you do this? Why don't you try counseling? You need to make this work. You know, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I have to work, and hangs up on her mom, which is a power move. And her boss shows up and asks her to take minutes for a meeting he's having with Brittany's dad, who wants to level a current existing subdivision to build fancier houses and profit off of that. Get some new faces into Langston because it's such a small town, and she's there, she takes the minutes, and then she emails them to him, and he hangs back, her boss hangs back after the meeting's over and is like, we need to have a little chat. And thank God, because that is something that we are not getting nearly enough in this novel. Pointless conversation. He's like, I'm hearing things about you leaving your husband and those 4 hunky dudes that you hired. I'm paraphrasing. And And she's like, I don't know what the problem is, because if we're all consenting adults and we're still doing our jobs well, what's the problem? What's the issue that you have here with me? And, he agrees and drops it and leaves. And then she goes back to her office to see a frantic Lars pacing back and forth. This is the polar bear, remember? Which is funny because the polar bear at the Memphis Zoo loves to pace back and forth. I think it's because he doesn't have a lot of room, but I digress. Maybe they're like that. I don't know. I have a distance between me and the bears. Chapter 34 is Lars. Lars is the Iceman of very little words, but he is big mad about these flowers because he knows they didn't come from them. And he sees on her face and in her demeanor that she's uncomfortable with whatever the kind of explosive show of emotions he's putting on here. And so he attempts to rein it in. Yeah, Wad, she's going through something and she has an abusive ex-husband who's possessive and angry. You being possessive and angry, not a good idea. The tension cools. He brought her breakfast. They chat a little bit about the flowers and Paul going over to her parents and getting them involved and all this other stuff. And she bristles at this and he wants to comfort her, but he's not sure how without making her uncomfortable. He says that he has some work to do before they leave for the day, but he wants to take her on a date tonight. It's his turn and he wants to go to the Point, which is like a seaside town nearby. There's a beach. They can watch the sunset. They have very good fish and chips. It's very romantic. And I love that. I think that all sounds very fun. I love a fish and chip. But you know what? They still haven't had actual or revealed that they are bears, and we're at 80%. Okay? I need you to understand 80%. And I'm growing angrier by the second. Anyway, she's thrilled. She closes the distance and gives him a big wet kiss, and the bear inside him is internally screaming, but externally contained. We gotta lock that bear up. He says, drink lots of water and eat a fibrous lunch. I'll pick you up at 5:30. He leaves and sees Paul, I guess, like in the parking lot or something, and they have like a manly showdown of staring, and then Paul drives off. Chapter 35 is Natalie. Holly's like, woohoo! Somebody didn't come home last night. They're all at the bookstore and Nikki is chatting too, but I find him completely irrelevant and all-encompassingly stupid. So, she's like, I need a shower and get ready. And Holly's just happy that someone or multiple someones are treating her finally the way she deserves. They chit-chat about her date and then about Paul, of course they do, and how she always wanted to leave and blah, blah, blah. Stuff we've already discussed. I don't care. And Holly says, go get you some monster baby. And Lars is there and heard it. They leave and go to the beach and watch the sunset, and they have a picnic, dinner, fish and chips on the beach. And it's just nice. That sounds nice. Hungry, love? You didn't follow my instructions and have a good lunch, did you? I looked up at him with a smirk and never really understood daddy energy before this because my dad was much more remote than this. But as I watched Lars' eyes glitter, a dark smile curving his lips, I felt like I got it. Didn't drink enough water either, I said. Spank me later? Little minx. Okay, so lots of coals in the fire. And all of that to say, we're on fire. He starts to feed her, and it's so strange. And she's like, y'all are so weird with this food thing. And he explains, but it's not at all interesting, and it is very, very basic. He's like, where we come from, food is like the glue that holds every social gathering together. It's comfort, it's love, it's blah. Like, none of this is revolutionary as a Southern girl myself. Like, if there's one thing about us, we're gonna try to feed you. It's like every celebration, every good piece of news, every bad thing that happens, you're like, you know what we should do? We should go get something to eat. Like every single thing. Like, so I'm not impressed, but she's different than me. So I guess this is interesting and alluring to her. He's like, I'd love for you to meet my family whenever you're up for it. We are moving so fast when we said that that's not what we're gonna do. You're moving so fast after you specifically said you weren't going to? They feed leftovers to the seagulls and talk about how good their teamwork is in accomplishing this. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you've never been to a beach and you've never had a seagull notice that you're eating a bag of Cheetos, you don't even have to work to feed them. Sometimes they just take it from you. So like, what the fuck are you talking about? Can you tell that I'm mad now? Like, we were having fun and now we're not. I'm ready to be done. This is stupid. Chapter 36 is Lars. So she asks him, like, once I agree to all of this, if I agree to it, am I going to feel as intensely about it as you guys do? And he kind of goes on and on about how, the women in his family, it always comes down to them, like, sacrificing something to be with them. Like, they're risking everything for this. And so that's what he says. He's like, well, it will be and it won't be, but really what matters is that you figure out for yourself if we're worth the risk. That's our job, is to prove that we are, And she takes his shirt off, for some reason. And he's like, ball it up and use it as a pillow, lie down, and she does. So he calls her a good girl. Oh, good. How fun. How fun is this? He gives her a sensual massage on the beach. They're like kind of tucked away from crowds and stuff, and it's also starting to get dark. And he's very detailed about the massage and how he's like breaking up little pockets of tension and sending lactic acid back into her system. I wish I was kidding, but I'm dead serious because we don't joke around here. Okay, we don't joke about lactic acid. What the are you talking about? He's like, I'm still hungry, but not for food. Wink. Tell me I can. Tell me I can tear your underwear off and bury you to the sea air. Tell me I can lick all your honey away until you're screaming. The big bad bear wants to eat you all up. Now, again, she doesn't know that they're bears. And so this just seems like an odd choice of a pet name in the middle of dirty talk. So she says, bear. Her voice is all breathy now. She was close to agreeing. I could almost taste it. I thought it was the big bad wolf. Wolves are lame. Bears rock. I agree with you because I don't like wolves. But like, you're being so dorky about it. I grinned then, wondering if she could catch sight of my fangs. Yes? Yes, she said, and inside my bear roared. Terrible. This is all terrible. Chapter 37 is Natalie. Wipe your hands on your dress, Lars told me. What? Get all the sand off your hands. You're going to hold yourself open for me so I can get my tongue up as deep as it can go. Oh my God. Oh, buddy. I need to turn the air on. I can't breathe. I am just sweating, and not in a good way, derogatory. She's like, listen, if we're going to do this group thing for the rest of forever, there's something you need to know about me. And I was bracing for impact. Like, what are we about to do? And she's like, I get really horny when I have a massage. Okay.
So fucking boring. Jesus.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel that. That's not... Okay, it's pitch black on the beach, and again, no one's around, so he has her spread it, and he looks at it and says she's beautiful, and she's like, how can you see? It's dark. I can see plenty. You're little all perked up and ready to say hello. I have never seen a more active, busier class in my life. She is standing up. She is greeting folks. This class could run for Senate. Here's a little taste of the shit that I'm doing for you, okay? I'm paraphrasing. I'm skipping over large chunks of dialogue and dirty talk, but here's a little taste for you because you voted for this and you did this to me, and I took that personally. He leaned in with a long, slow swipe of his tongue from arse to clit, his mouth making lewd slurping sounds as he went. I mean, I need some water. The Waterloo flavor cherry limeade on deck today. Lewd slurping sounds as he went. Yowza! Yeah, so she arrives loudly, not caring if people hear. Speaking of hear, she hears his belt buckle a-jangling and knowing that he's about to jack it, because that's apparently what they do. That's their version of taking it at her pace. But instead, she just grabs that thing and gets him across the finish line herself. We love initiative. We love a take charge kind of gal. And he's like, that was supposed to be about you. And she's like, well, I wanted to touch you. They discuss work as the chapter closes. And I swear to God, it's only been a week since they met, sure. But it feels like years over here on this side. And I don't know if you're feeling that as well. This video is about to be so fucking long. Chapter 38 is Alaric. She's driving them to the quarry for something that is not important. They need some stones. They know how to split them. They're going to show her how, blah, blah, blah. She and two of the bears are in one car, and the other two bears are in another car following them. And I need you to know that they're not bears. She still does not know that they are bears, okay? Alaric, this is his POV. And so he's in his head, and he's thinking like, he feels like an outsider in the group, despite being the one that facilitates everything and stuff. And that's kind of sad. That makes me sad for him. But I honestly don't care enough about any of these people or bears to feel any sort of deep kind of way. So let's move on. They're at the quarry. They're splitting the stones. The process is being shown. I don't think any of it matters. Blah, blah, blah. She approaches Alaric and says, you're the one who makes sure everybody's okay, aren't you? Like, kind of seeing him. And to be loved is to be known, and to be known is to be seen. And, so that's what we have here, right? And they literally are just splitting stones, and she watches them for pages. So after all the work is done, they're being playful, and then Alaric tells her that there's something else they need to show her, or something he needs to show her. And he thinks about, again, all the ways that women have had to sacrifice in order to make this choice. Like, it's usually the women that end up sacrificing a lot and taking the biggest risk and stuff. And we have already talked about this. We're 90% in, for those of you keeping tabs at home, 90% in, and they're finally about to tell her that they're
bears. Beats.
Battlestar Galactica.
He thinks to himself that the longer they wait, the deeper the betrayal. And honestly, I don't think you could have waited any longer, my man. 90%? So he takes her hand and leads her into the woods away from the quarry. Chapter 39 is Natalie. Oh boy. So she's like, you can't be a vampire because I've seen you and you don't sparkle. So what's the deal? And then he just strips down. So I'm sure she's thinking werewolf because that's what Jacob Black did in, Breaking Dawn Part 1, was it? Her mind races with possibilities of what he could be about to reveal to her. Does he have an extra oh, well, more for me to play with? That's a win for me. Does he have an STD, a disability? Weird how your mind works. But okay. Alaric is standing there 1 minute naked, just a naked bloke in the woods. And then the next minute, he is a big bear, a massive brown bear. Fight or flight kicks in and she chose flight. So she just bolts. She runs out of the woods and she's hoping that she's going to run into the other guys and they're going to comfort her and stuff. But what she runs into instead are 2 larger black bears and 1 large polar bear just in the middle of Australia. Yep. What the
They're bears.
She loses her phone. She's like, fuck the phone. She fumbles with her car keys. She gets in the car and the bears gather around the car, which is not how you should have done this. And then she floors it. She's just out of there. A lonely roar cutting through the whir of the air conditioning and forcing my eyes up to the rearview mirror. There they all stood, all 4 of them, the men who swore I was the only one for them. I'd used the term fated mate as a bit of a joke, but that's what it was, wasn't it? It explained everything, their intensity, their instant need for me, the way they barreled into my life and had taken over, but not why they hadn't told me. Fair, that's fair. I would be annoyed too. Scared, but mostly annoyed. Well, it's even. Chapter 40 is Natalie. She busts into Holly's requesting vodka and she's like, here, have this water instead. Good job. And she's like, remember in 9th grade when we wanted our own werewolf mates like Jacob Black? And Holly's like, uh-huh. And she's like, what if that's possible? She spills, tells her about the bear thing, fated mate thing, all of it. She tells her everything. Best friends, am I right? And then Natalie's like, I didn't stop to ask questions. I just ran. I hope I never see them again. And Holly's like, never? As in, I don't want these guys? Halls, be serious. They're bears. Yeah, but they're not the cute gay kind. They're smoking hot. The cute gay kind of, what do you mean? It is stupid that they wanted the fated mate in 9th grade, but kids are stupid, I guess. So, Holly orders pizza and they watch Fight Club just to feel something. Can't relate, but okay. You met me at a very weird time in my life. Chapter 41 is Natalie. Even in her sleep, she gets no peace. So Coda shows up and apologizes and says this wasn't how they wanted it to go, but there's always hardship for the women who have to make this choice. I know. We've talked about it at length multiple times. And her subconscious in the dream conjures up all the men and their bear counterparts standing next to them. So she sees the similarities now, and he says that they'll always want her. And if she ever needs them for anything, just to let them know. She reaches out to stroke his fur, and then she wakes up like that, reaching out for nothing and tears streaming down her face. Chapter 42 is Natalie again. She wakes up feeling like bear shit and gets ready for a day at work, pretending to be chill and none of this actually happened to her. She's getting dressed and she starts to cry, but she tells herself that she either accepts him or she doesn't. And that's just how it's going to be. She goes to get something to eat and some gas for her car, but her card declines. And that's because old Paul emptied out her bank account. That's great. As if she needed more shit to deal with. Not only that, but when she gets to work, there is a crowd gathered around the clock tower, wherein which old boy Paul spray painted in bright red the word and all 4 of the guys are up there with sponges and buckets trying to clean it off. And there were some print out pictures of Alaric standing nude in the woods. Paul's all in his Regina George era. Her boss shows up, and this won't be good because he decides to cut the guys loose from the project and tells her that she has a lot of leave, backed up, and so she needs to take it. She needs to take some time away from work. The guys do try to approach her for comfort, and she waves them off and then gets in her car, and she drives, and Paul calls and asks if she liked his little gift, little She's like, you took the money that I saved. I'm going to the police. And Paul says, oh, about your little bear problem? Oh, whoa, we're in trouble now. And, by we, I mean Paul. Paul, they're bears. You're trying to get yourself killed. But Blackmail enters the chat and he's like, I'm on all these forums run by the Yanks where they talk about taking down stags and cougars and bears, always giving me a fucking boner the thought of bringing down something that big with one bullet. I'd just about pay you for the privilege. But if you don't want your fuzzy wuzzy friends coming to any harm, you'll need to do what I tell you. Weird. This is a weird thing to talk about and to flex on, but okay. His demands? That's a great question. What he wants is for her to sign over the house to him. And then he'll give the money back and he won't kill the bears. And I've spent a lot of time with Natalie, and she constantly talks and thinks. And so I feel like I know her pretty well. I feel like you could have just asked her for that. You literally could have just asked her to sign over the house. Like, she can keep everything else, but you want the house. You didn't have to blackmail her. You didn't have to spray paint something on the side of the building. You didn't have to empty out her funds and then threaten to murder 4 bear men. You didn't have to do that. So this is underwhelming and disappointing. She hangs up with him, and, then the bears are calling and she doesn't answer, but Coda sends a voice message that's like, don't try to do this by yourself if you don't want to. We're here. We want to help. And then chapter 43, Natalie again. So Holly, she's back at Holly's, and Holly made her promise not to do anything without her. Like, don't go over there by yourself. Don't, whatever. And she promised, but she was lying crisscross behind her back, grabs a pocket knife that he always insisted on her carrying, and heads over to the house. She arrives at the house, memories wash over her, and she prepares herself to go inside and face off with Paul, and she has her phone set to record the conversation, and she wanders in, and wouldn't you know it, there she is, stupid Brittany next to Paul. There's also a loaded gun just sitting on the table, and she's like, okay, send Brittany upstairs or we're not going to talk about this. And he's like, I will put a bullet in your head and the bears. And she's like, yeah, cool. I have you recorded. And Holly has the iCloud password, and she knows that if I don't come home that there's something wrong. So send the bitch upstairs or I'm walking. And he nods to Brittany, go on up, who says, don't worry, baby. I'll be spread out on the bed naked, working myself over with those little toys this stupid bitch left in her bedside drawer. I'll be dripping, waiting for you. Hi, Brittany. Brittany, baby. I don't know if you know this. You're not really supposed to use other people's toys. Anyway, she lays out some more of the terms, and he's not pleased. But then, roar, there's a bear coming in from the backyard. Actually, multiple bears. Yikes. She's worried because all of Paul's faults considered, he's actually a really good shot, and so she doesn't want anything to happen to the bear. And then she throws herself in front of Paul just when she hears a loud bang. When I collided with Paul, both of us landing on the ground, the wind driven out of both of us, I saw we weren't alone. A black bear lay there too, blood bubbling up from his chest. Oh God, which twin do we think it's going to be? Okay. Because, I have my guess, right? There's a strong case for either of them though. Coda and her seem to have this connection, and he seems like he would jump at the chance to protect her and keep her safe. Thorn is a hothead and a very reactionary bear. And so, it really could be either of them. Who do you think it is? Log your guesses below. Chapter 44. Well, damn, it's Coda, and he is bleeding out and he's not going to make it. She's like, Coda, stay with me. And then all the other men have transformed back into men from bears, and they are all nude in the kitchen. Every man in this kitchen except for Paul is naked, which is very weird. Okay. And then they're like, actually, Natalie, you can save him if you tie your life to his. And the way that works is that she cuts her finger and bleeds into his mouth. And Coda's like, no, not like this. But he's dying, so he doesn't really get a vote. And then as she does this, she feels warmth spreading throughout her body, kind of thing. And police and ambulance are on the way. The bullet is still in there, but he's not bleeding out anymore. Shoo, I don't know what the cops thought of the scenario that met them. With me cradling a naked gunshot victim, 3 others naked men standing around, and Paul still sprawled out on the grass, but they didn't say anything, indicating we would all need to come in for questioning once Coda was stabilized. What a scene. Can you imagine? That's quite a day at the office. Paul was cuffed and taken away. Arrest Brittany too, please, for using another woman's toys. Yikes. At the hospital, the surgery was a success, and she wouldn't let any of the bears comfort her until she knew that Coda was going to be okay, right? And she reaches out to him in her mind and then comes back into herself to say, quote, we need to work out what the hell to do about Paul, because we are never letting something like this happen again. The end. Let's chat. So I do have to hurry because my batteries are all dying. This has been a very busy day, but I want you to know that this was at a solid 2-star, and then that ending happened and it's a 1. I am so mad. All that, they didn't even have sex. A couple of them did oral. One of them was dream walking, right? There was kisses, and one of them jumped off into a toilet. We didn't even get any sex. Okay, they waited until 90% of the way through this book to reveal their bear quality, scared the bejesus out of her, and then this incredibly stupid, hollow blackmail plot that really would have just consisted of him being like, hey, I want the house, you can have everything else. And she would have probably been like, cool. And then the bears showed up for no reason, and one of them got and then she was forced backed into a corner. Like, she probably would have chosen them anyway. Obviously, that's where we were headed. But she was backed into a corner because one of them was literally bleeding out on her kitchen floor. And it ends with, we need to work out what the hell to do about Paul because we are never letting something like this happen again. And then it's the end. What do you mean? And of course, I know it's book 1 in a series. But I'll tell you right now, look into my eyeballs, okay? Look at my eyes. I'm not reading any more of this series. This was long-winded and pointless and rambly and stupid. Walls of exposition, walls of rumination, repeating the same things over and over again, only for them to say things like three-nager, flat brown disc, standing up, oh captain, my captain, and then spread open, but I don't want any sand in there. Okay, you're a bear. You eat your own shit. And they wait to tell her that they're bears, and they're like, we're gonna take it at her pace. She's hurting right now. We don't want to rush into anything. And then one of the bears is like, hey, I want to fuck you over this table. Ooh, if you weren't a bear, I would beat the fuck out of you. All of you. Jail, incarceration. Brittany, I will have you assassinated. I really thought I was going to have fun with this. It started out so nice. I thought we were having fun. I was like, maybe the rambling will tighten up. Maybe we won't be doing this every other page. Maybe this will be fun. Her name is Natalie. I paid for this book. This wasn't on Kindle Unlimited when I got it so that I could read a few fools. And I do mean fools because we're all fools here. Because I thought that this was going to be fun. I thought that it was going to be fun, a romp in the woods with some bears, and God help me. Oh my God, this was so dissatisfying. I don't even know. My idea about one of them being a panda and him taking on the role of like voyeurism from the cuck chair in the corner, that was more entertaining than what we actually got. I won't be continuing this series, okay? I hated this. 1 star. You let me know what you thought though, because maybe you had a good time. Maybe this was fun for you. I was bored the entire time, and it took entirely too long to read a 290-page book. Like, this shouldn't have been this prolonged. This felt like getting dental work done. God help me. And all for it to end like that. Yeah. Okay, so I need to go lie down. Maybe take a walk out in the sunshine and remember that there's more to life than this horrible bear shifter. Maybe that, you know. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you voting, because I think that this worked out, that it's still going to be fun for you. I have fun when I get to release the videos to you. That's the fun part of my job, knowing that you enjoy it, getting to see you chat in the comments. So make sure to leave a comment, like the video if you had fun. If you have the means and the desire to support me monetarily, like financially, if you have the capability of doing that without breaking the budget, I do have channel memberships and a Patreon where you can get perks, early access, and ad-free access to videos like this, and also like member shout-outs at the end. Stay tuned for those, and access to the Discord. There's a book club. There's all kinds of things, okay? So if you have the means and you're looking to support me in a monetary way, I would really appreciate it, and all the links are below. There's also a Ko-fi or a coffee where you can just one time throw a couple bucks at me to thank me for the work that I do here. You don't have to. Please do not go into debt for me. It's not that serious. I'm glad that you're here at all. I love you. Again, you don't have to say it back. I will see you, God, in the next video. Okay. Mwah. Bye. Hello, friends. I'm outside today, so you're going to hear some chattering and probably some giant truck flyby, but I wanted to do my member shout outs. Let's start with the Weirdo members on my bindery page, which are Amy, Ayla G, Becca Fawn, Bookish by Jenna, Bunny Girl, Claymation, Coffee Picklebot, Grayson L, Hazardous Mess, Happy Chickie, Katie Chandler, Lex, Love the Cemetery, Nicole Key, Fonty, Pink Catsy, Romantic Kitty, Rosemary K, Sarah Morrison, and Silent XYQK. As for my Weirdo members of my Patreon, I want to say thanks to Katie D, Julia, Louisa, Drew, Lola, Abigail Ray, Reese, Andy Mations, Cheyenne, Ree Mirage, Whitney, Drive By Thinker, Nessa C, Rivka versus Everything, Ria, Rosemary K, Adrian, and Kay. Mwah! I appreciate you so much. Actually, your contributions this month are going towards dental work that I'm getting done tomorrow. So cross your fingers. fingers for me. Well, it'll be done by the time you see this. So, you know, hope you see me back next week. Otherwise, it means that I succumb to my gum problems. Dental work and my camera, my really nice Osmo Pocket 3, has some sort of issue with the magnets inside of the mechanism. I don't know. When I Googled it, it said that I'm no longer under warranty and I need to take it to get repaired. You know, that's not always fun and games, you know, like you also bought me lunch today, so I appreciate that, and my kids dinner. So, you know, those are fun things. But yeah, some stupid things popping up. That's life though, right? And of course, you guys make it so much easier to deal with, and I really do appreciate you. And a special thanks to all of my other members of my Patreon, my YouTube channel, my bindery. I adore you. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.